into American Truck Simulator today. This is a chill game that we just drive around trucks and all that, have a good time. So it's a great thing for having conversations with because I can have a conversation with it. I don't have the game trying to pull my attention in 30 different directions. And then I can get distracted and slam into a guardrail at speed. You know, all the things that people want to see. So with that, it is a game where you pick up cargo, you drive to another place, you get paid, and you do it again, and you expand your operation, and get better trucks and all that kind of stuff. I do not remember what we were doing, but it looks like we're fully gassed up and rested, so that's good. So we are in Phoenix? We're by Phoenix. So let's see. Phoenix to San Francisco will pay me $51,000 at... Oh, right, it has turned up this way. Yeah, so this is... Yeah, so Phoenix to Oakland. Looks like it'll pay me the best per mile. I don't know why it's sitting there going, are you set up for a heavy job? Yes, game. You should recognize this. You're about to set up a heavy job. Is your truck configured? Yeah. I mean, I'm not quite maxed out, but I'm pretty much as close as I'm going to get to it, so maybe I am set up well for it. Alright. Did you not give me the arrow for it? I set my GPS, right? I don't know what just happened there. Okay. So this one. Set GPS destination. Continue. Why am I not getting GPS? I don't really know what's happening right now. It should have given me GPS and told me to go there. Oh, they actually have people skating at the skate park. I never noticed that before. That's kind of cool. I mean, unless the job's right here. I doubt it. The odds of that are negligible. Yeah, we could check. Are you where this job is? It can't be, right? It appears to be so, actually. Okay. That explains that. I was just like, why am I not getting GPS to my destination? I'm sure if we had, like, the voice GPS thing, we would set it, be like, you have arrived. Alright, so we need to go in front of these garages so I can get the back point in the right direction, and then we can get on our way. But yeah, so, as a reminder, we will be having a... this is actually be kind of annoying with the other payload there. But, as a reminder, halfway through stream, which we're nowhere near there, we got, like, 4-ish hours till then. Halfway through stream, we'll do the little boat, see what we're going to be playing next. So, like, if there's games you want to see on the channel as well, that's one way of them happening. I know, I need... And this is the thing that all creators go through, is how do you get more feedback that you can make informed decisions? Like, one of the creators I think has the best setup for it is Radamant. But it requires him running his own website and all that kind of stuff, which is fine, and I can do that. I've actually debated setting that up. It's just another one of those things like, okay, I can take the time to work on that. But if I'm working on that, that means I'm not working on all the other stream stuff I need to be working on. Like, that's been the issue with, like, everything on the stream. I've got, like, 20,000 things I want to do, and I just don't have the time to do 20,000 things. So I gotta pick. And prioritizing what is the thing that makes sense and what is the thing that doesn't is often difficult to parse. It's fine, we ran that a little bit. We didn't get punished, so it's not a crime. That's how that works, right? Alright, so the next big things I the next things I want to get done in Truck Simulator is we've been continuously expanding our garages, getting more and more trucks. That way we get the trickle income of making other people do work for us. you know, taking that whole life of taking a cut of everyone else's stuff by just fronting the money, which is, I mean, I guess fair. Alright. I gotta remember this thing stops longer than I thought it would. Like, even for a semi, of the semis I've had in this game, this one takes a little bit longer to stop. Which is probably just, you know, the load we have on this thing is ridiculously large. But I want to fill up the current garage, which I think we have room for 2 more vehicles in. After that, I think it's time we see if I can't get a much bigger truck or something like that. I've been just getting, like, the big Mack truck or whatever. I don't know if rain affects it, but it would. Yeah, that's, that was one of the things I was uncertain about in the game, is I noticed it because, like, I have the rain effects turned up so far as how often they happen. Just because riding on the road with, like, nothing happening on it all the time, that can actually get a little stale after a while. Versus stuff like having rain and having, like, really windy days and all that kind of stuff makes it a bit more variety. It's also the same reason I keep on, you know, random road events and roadblocks. The road events I think I have on their default setting. No, I shouldn't say roadblocks, detours. Detours I have turned down a little bit because I've had some pretty horrifically bad detours in the game where they add like 100-something miles onto your journey. And that can be fun on like the rare occasion. But the frequency it was happening was like, alright, hang on. This is not gonna fly. In real life, it's not gonna be... That tanker's going fast. Got places to be, man. Like, real life, it's gonna be exceptionally rare that you have a detour that's gonna add literal hundreds of miles onto your journey. Not never, but that's gonna be an outlier. Normally it'll be like, oh, it's gonna add 10, 15 miles as I have to, you know, get off the freeway, get onto this back road, take the back road around, back onto the freeway I'm already on, kind of thing. You also have in real life, sometimes you'll have, it's like, you cannot reach your destination. Nope. Road is blocked, one road in, one road out. Just, that is not happening today. Isn't looking to be a left lane driver, but I guess I overestimated my acceleration. So we've boxed in this car behind us. Clearly this is an insurance scam in the making. We just need the third car here to now, you know, make you slam your brakes. Alright, cruise control set. We are overtaking now. I also need to look at what I've got to do for the achievements. Like, I'm in the mode... So when I play a lot of these games, they have tons of achievements to them. Usually, at first, if it's not a story game, if it's a story game, sometimes I'll peek at the achievements or be like, are there missable achievements in this game? Like, I might take 2 seconds to just do that search. And then if there's a missable achievement, it's like, okay, what do I have to do to avoid missing it? Because there's been times I played a game, you get through the whole thing and you get all but one achievement. It's like, oh, well, this achievement is like right before the ending of the game, but once you've missed it, you've missed it. Play through the entire game all over again. It's like, nah, man, that ain't happening. Sometimes it will. Like, there's some games that are well suited for multiple playthroughs, and that's a different animal. But like, you know, doing something like Mass Effect where you do one playthrough as like the Paragon and you do one as the Renegade, just to see how different the playthroughs are. Or some of the games like Skyrim and Fallout can be that way. With, well, I mean, not so much Skyrim for me at least, but like Fallout, some of the games like Vegas, New Vegas Fallout, you can make decisions that have meaningful changes. Fallout 3 had like 1 or 2, which is actually one of my complaints. Is if you go back to Fallout, like Fallout 2 and Fallout 1, you would make these decisions that would completely change parts of the game. And Fallout 3 only had like 2 of those kind of decisions in the whole game. And then Fallout 4, you can argue, has 1 at the very end. I want to say that was one of the achievements with Fallout 4, was decide with each of the factions. Which I was like, okay, do I really want to dedicate doing a whole nother playthrough? Hey, Felix grabbing me an extra $1,800. for doing absolutely nothing on my part. And Felix gained a level. Yay! Level up. Level up. Felix is now a slightly above incompetent driver. Yay! We all start somewhere. I always hire, like, the absolute worst driver who has, like, the least skill. We're basically hiring, like, the entry-level of entry-level driver and just letting them train up as they go. We're giving job opportunities to the people who are just entering the industry. You know, helping them break in. We're definitely not taking advantage of their lower wages. That's absolutely not what is occurring here. It's just a happy bonus. I appreciate that Moses drive is 75 miles an hour. I'm gonna be real sad when we hit California, have to drop back down to 55. This is one of the games I have been debating, watching for a sale, like a good sale, and I probably missed one, and picking up some of the DLC for it. Because there's DLC that gives you a bunch of different types of cargo you can transport, so like super duper oversized cargo, like concrete pipes and all that kind of stuff. Really obscure cargo, like I think there was one that was like a satellite or something like that, or a rocket or whatever from like the shuttle or whatever. And when you say it, it's like you buy it, it's like oversized cargo, specialty cargo. It's like it'll be a DLC with a bunch of them. Do they have Louisiana drivable yet? I do not believe so. I know their most recent one was Oklahoma. Hey, JD, how's it going? Yeah, Oklahoma was their most recent edition. Actually, we can check this right now. So if we look at the map, all of the parts of the map, all the parts of the map that are light colored, I believe you can drive through. I might be wrong about some of these ones in the middle, but like you can get Washington, Oregon, you can get I believe Wyoming is up there. You can get Oklahoma, Texas. We have Arizona. I'm blanking. Is that New Mexico? No, New Mexico's up here, right? The point is, the highlighted ones, I believe you can drive through all of those. The darker ones over here, you cannot drive through yet. There's an actual houseless cargo. Well, we're next to Texas, so maybe one day. Yeah. So they are adding to it. Like I said, they added Oklahoma as their most recent addition. I do think they are trying to slowly expand to cover the entire U.S., or at least the bulk of it. Which I think would be really interesting if they get to that point, like picking up a payload in, you know, Southern California and driving it to Maine. So literally crossing the entire country from one end to the other. Or just the same thing, like Florida to Washington, like North Washington or something like that. The only one they wouldn't be able to do is Alaska. Because, well, Alaska and Hawaii, because they're not continental U.S., so you can't drive a truck straight through without going to straight through without adding Canada. And if they added Canada, sure. But I don't imagine they do that. I mean, I guess technically it's American Truck Simulator, not United States Truck Simulator. So technically, North, South, and Central America could all be included, and it would still be American Truck Simulator. I'm sure if they did that, there'd be some people who'd whine and moan and make a whole big thing like, if it's American Truck Simulator, why is Canada there? Well, that's because it's the North American continent. Like, America does not mean United States. These aren't synonymous. I could go for that. I don't think they would. Because, I mean, one, that would be expanding the amount they have to add to an absolutely absurd level. That'd be like Euro Truck Simulator going, well, now we're including Russia, China, like Korea, like all of that, like India, the whole area. You'd be like, okay, or like Africa as well. It's like, okay, sure, that's not Europe at all. But, like, I don't know how you'd label that, like World Truck Simulator. Still. And sadly, we're in California now. And as, like, I actually like California. Asian Truck Simulator? Yeah, I mean, I would go for it. I would honestly, like, that's kind of one of the beauties of the game. Like, you can't, like, the time sink, you can't visit every place in your lifetime. It would be nice. Yeah, Eurasia Truck Simulator. Excellent. There we go. Maybe in 20 years we can get the Amazon Jungle DLC. It's technically still America. Well, that's the saying. We can go down to, like, if American Truck Simulator, if they expand it to not mean United States, but to mean the American continents, you would have that. Like, that's the one I didn't realize everything they added with. I think it was the Oklahoma one. There was one of them that I was like, I think it was Simcopter was playing, that I didn't realize they had like dirt roads and everything they added. Because like at first it's like, huh, this category says American Truck Simulator, but this looks like SnowRunner. And I'm like, no, it's American Truck Simulator. The UI is American Truck Simulator. And then, you know, of course, you got to like where you actually saw something. Like, no, it's definitely American Truck Simulator. I think that was the Oklahoma DLC that added that. I don't know. It could be one of the others. But it was one of those things like, man, there's so much of this game I haven't seen because I haven't picked up any of the DLC. Like, I have a couple of DLC that they gave me. No, they didn't give me this. I bought this game. It must have come with the game at the time. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I bought American Truck Simulator, and I think they gave me, when I went to stream it, a DLC content. I think that's what happened. That I owned the base game, but one specific of the DLC I was given by the devs. I think that's what happened here. Which I did request the Oklahoma DLC, but I didn't get it. At least not yet. Technically the request is still open, but usually what happens when you have those requests is they'll give it to you either a little while before it comes out or like right as it comes out. And then if you don't get in that wave, they usually don't give it out anymore. Because that's when they're trying to get their audience to sell everything and the marketing moves on to whatever the next project is. But technically they don't go through and say, we've canceled the requests, and they all go away. Like eventually the platform they provide the keys on will like time it out. But it's like 6 months later or something like that. It's or a year or more. I have key requests that technically have been open for like a year and a half. Which is whatever. Like that happens. I get it. Everyone will have their different milestones that they want a channel to meet before they consider it, or things they're looking for channels doing for them to consider it, or some combination of their. You love it in the game when it's night in game? Yeah, like the rainy night in game, like it's scary to do that on the actual road because it's very calming, and that's dangerous on real roads to like be mellowed out and calm. Like it'll get you to fall asleep at the wheel or just unfocused, you know, mind wandering kind of thing. But for a video game, it's just really nice. That's what things that makes American Truck Simulator and Euro Truck Simulator like so popular as games. Is just they can be a nice relaxing time. It's a great game for like when you're winding down at the end of stream. I just realized my microphone is way too far away. Like it should be like 6 to 8 inches. I shoved it back and forgot to move it forward. There's a mod for Euro Truck Simulator that added Russia and Belarus. It was awesome, very detailed. Nice. I appreciate that that's a thing. That is always one of the things that you run into with like the mods and all that with these kind of games. That's very clear that the base game is looking to add the entire US. But I could see someone getting someone's collectively getting impatient for like Louisiana, since that got mentioned earlier, and just making a mod that adds Louisiana to the game. And then you have this weird thing where when you go to release your Louisiana DLC, do people consider the DLC or the mod better? Usually the DLC is better. There are exceptions. Most of the time the DLC is better. I'm surprised it didn't say, you know, whether or not I had to do the way station. And that's usually just a matter of time and money and resources. Most of the time mods are not something that are making the mod makers money. There's exceptions. But so it's a volunteer project. Not that mods can't be amazing, but people doing it in their free time versus a company throwing literally millions of dollars at it. Usually the millions of dollars has a little bit more to work with. There's a little part of Russia in one of the DLCs, so it's good there. Gas is very, very cheap. I wish they had normal cars you could drive instead of worrying about taking wide turns. Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. I know, I can't remember whose channel I was talking about. We talked about maybe for one of the DLC, instead of having like the giant semis, you can kind of go the other direction where you have like a box fan. You know, so they're like just in time delivery, long distance kind of thing, or like, or not necessarily long distance, but like just in time delivery in like small towns and whatever. But it's like little box vans or delivery trucks, like mail trucks, that kind of thing. That said, I don't think it'd be that hard to add a DLC that's just like, you know, you could just get a sedan or whatever. Drive. Like I could even see that being a thing, like the rush just-in-time delivery type thing, where it's a very small payload that needs to go a long way. So you're like just entirely focused on gas mileage or whatever. So you're just driving some like little sedan that's got a really big gas tank, and you've got like a thing in your trunk, but it needs to be the other side of the country really fast or whatever. I mean, the reality is you take a plane for that, but we'll just wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's okay. You're driving it for some reason. With Euro Truck and the Pro Mods mod, the mod is kind of better, more detailed. The DLC is more generic, but they polished it a little bit later. Gotcha. That also does happen. That's not. It doesn't happen often. That like again, the mod straight up outperforms the base product. Like when you have a mod and the thing coming out at the same time that do stuff. Now there's definitely times that the mod will do more stuff than the base one, which can be a differentiator. Especially like quality life stuff. Yeah. I'm also amused that we have our windshield wipers that I just forgot to turn them off last time we played, and they're still on. And because there's no penalty, like there's no your windshield wipers wear off, it's like, I could turn it off. I am playing with a keyboard and mouse. I don't play really enough games that require driving to justify buying a wheel, and then making room for it. Because like I do have some really nice peripherals that I don't get to use much nowadays. Like I've got a really, really, really nice HOTUS, which is a hands-on throttle and stick that I would use for like Elite Dangerous and Flight Simulator and those. But since I've started streaming, I've had like no time for those games, let alone the time to like clear my desk, make room for it, all that kind of stuff. Or to mod my desk or my chair so that I can, you know, mount them there. Because, it's a Warthog HOTUS, and that throttle is like genuinely like 25 pounds or some ridiculous. It's very heavy to just like, I can't just like put it on the arm of my chair and like just strap it in place and not break the arm of the chair over time. Or it'd probably break the latching mechanism for adjusting the height on the arm of the chair. So adding a steering wheel is another thing that I gotta like shuffle everything around to make happen. That said, like, if I end up playing a lot of ATS, like, people are, like, super duper into it, is like, really, really, you know, pulling numbers on the channel, that kind of thing, that I played a lot more of it, I could see getting it. Getting a steering wheel. I'd already have the rudder pedals. I mean, the rudder pedals for flight, but they work for gas in this. I could just tip them forward and it would work just the same. Actually, I mean, they would work. They wouldn't be ideal, but they would work. They're just the wrong kind of pedals, but they'd be fine. Because they're the ones that slide forward and back, as opposed to up-down, like you have in a car. They're just Thrustmaster pedals. I couldn't tell you the model. It's one of those things that I got the HOTUS. They're like, we'll throw in these rudder pedals for free. All right, well, I wasn't planning on it, but you know, if you're gonna give them to me, I'm sure I'm not gonna say no. The rudder pedals are kind of not great. They're pretty cheaply made. The HOTUS is good. The HOTUS is ridiculous. Yeah, Thrustmaster steering wheel, good stuff. Yeah, I've mostly been very happy with Thrustmaster. If you get anything that's in the mid to high range in Thrustmaster, they're usually really well made. They do have their cheap stuff. It's kind of cheap. But I find that true most peripheral companies. They'll have like their super budget model, and their super budget model is usually... It feels cheap, it looks cheap, and it lasts about as long as you expect it would. But, all their mid-range and higher-end stuff usually is pretty solid. Like I've had that HOTAS for 14 years or something like that. I've had it a while, and I've had no issues with it ever. The rudder pedals that I said made a little cheat. I had to do some minor repairs in those myself a couple of times where, like, things would start sticking on them real bad, because just as it would slide, it would just pick up dirt and all that and just kind of gunk it in there, and you'd take it apart, get some, you know, metal lubricant and all that, put it back on there, you know, shift the whole bunch to clear it up, you know, maintenance kind of stuff. I had one point, I had a part broke on it, and I just 3D printed a new one and just shoved it on there because it's like a little plastic snap kind of thing. My plastic snap was better than theirs because I wasn't worried about cosmetics, so I made it way thicker and out of better plastic. I don't know what they used to begin with, but I used impact resistance ABS plastic, so that the rest of that thing is going to break before that plastic snap breaks. That's how I'll put it. Normally I don't use the ABS plastic for much because it's more expensive and it's not as environmentally friendly. What is the other one I use? It's not PVC. There was a plastic, I can't remember what it is. It's perfectly good, but about, ooh, Jay-Z pulling in almost 11,000 bucks for me. I love that idle money. But, hell, that's like a fifth of a delivery for me just being handed to me all at once. And I didn't do anything. But, it's a plastic that biodegrades a bit faster and that kind of stuff. It's good for, like, those little, like, stuff here. I have stuff like, you know, I 3D printed a companion cube. This is made out of the cheaper plastic I was talking about. It's lighter, it's easier to work with, it's more environmentally friendly, and it biodegrades faster. That, if I don't, like, leave it out to weather, will still last longer than I will. But, like, if it got out, like, dumped out in a ditch or whatever, it wouldn't take literal thousands of years to biodegrade. It would biodegrade in a couple decades kind of thing, which is still not great, but you get the idea. And it's cheaper. Did I mention it's cheaper? The cheaper's my favorite part. That's the reason I like to use that plastic for, like, all of, like, little, you know, tchotchkes I'm just have sitting on my desk. It doesn't need to be impact resistant. It's going to sit on my desk. If I break it, I'll just print out another piece. Let's see, the Thrustmaster T300RS is the wheel I have. It's an okay price, way better than the Longitude wheel I have. Good to know. If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to tell me what you paid for it. What does that normally retail? If you don't mind, I'm not trying to call out what you're spending. I'm just trying to get an idea of the okay-ish pricing. Not counting delivery or anything, just like what is the price they have on their website or whatever. It's okay if you don't have it handy and you don't want to look for it, you're like, you're busy. You, like, just, I can look it up on another time. Or, like, I can potentially look at it once we reach our destination. If I remember, in 5-10 minutes or whatever it'll take us to get there. Because I will assure you, my Thrustmaster HOTAS was not an okay price. That was me having a lot of discretionary currency while I was a developer and being like, I haven't bought myself something in a long time, and I don't remember what was going on, but I was having some, like, frustration at work, and, like, I'm buying myself this hecking thing just to do something nice for myself. I'm starting to see why I was complaining about the heavy load. It's probably the uneven road is probably the thing it's complaining about, so I gotta adjust my transmission on this. The super heavy load's going uphill. Is there wheels with cruise control? All those other truck ones? I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised if someone makes a steering wheel specific for Trucking Simulator. Hey, runaway ramps. Those are terrifying. So, if people don't know what a runaway ramp is, that's when you're going downhill a lot in a truck. You can potentially destroy your brakes. So you see that big ramp on the right? When your brakes are gone, you just try and downshift as best you can, and you point at that ramp and hope gravity saves the day. Looks like it's $435 on Amazon. Yeah, that's definitely in the expensive category. That's definitely more than I'm prepared to spend for this game. What if you go on one of those in game? I have no idea. The one downside about American Truck Simulator is there's lots of invisible walls. So you'll see like a dirt road that just goes like right off here, like, I wonder what's down that road. And you'll get 2 feet off the road and you'll slam into an invisible wall. It is kind of a bummer. I understand they add the roads to add character. I kind of wish they would just always put like a barricade in front of it. Like when I say a barricade, like have, you know, the little 1-bar gate that a lot of people put out when they're in the middle of absolutely nowhere, but they have a road that goes, you know, to their house or to their farm or whatever. Just so it's very clearly communicated, you're not allowed to go there. I mean, it's actually communicated if you have your GPS. If it's not on the GPS, you can't go there. I do not know what is a good budget wheel. I have not shopped for a steering wheel at any point in my life for games. It's not that I don't play games that use the steering wheel. Obviously, case in point, right now I'm playing one. I don't play them frequently enough that crosses my mind. It'd be cool to get a steering wheel. I just would worry if I got like a $25 wheel or something like that. If, you know, if it'd be one of those things that you get and you're like, this thing's a piece of junk. Like, I've done that where I've been like, oh, I'll get like the budget one, I don't need something nice. I think I did that with a joystick when I first started getting into flight simulators. I can't remember the brand, but they're the ones that always, like, we're talking, when we say the brand, this is talking 20 years ago, for context. We're talking teenage Rual here. That you'd get it, and it would have like all these angular things to make it sort of look like Transformers or whatever. I can't remember the name of the brand. They were all cheap, crappy ones, but you get them for like 15, 20 bucks for a joystick, and they, you know, worked. But all of them, you'd end up getting really bad drift really quickly. It'd wear out super fast. There's lots of places you could pinch your fingers on it. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. But, you'd have, like, the place you pinch your fingers and all that sort of stuff, so they're, like, really badly made. And then later on, when I wasn't a broke college student, then I splurged. Gotta get one with back pressure. Yeah, I mean, the joystick, the way those old ones worked is they'd have like a cone that would have a big spring that'd go to a plate. And so what ended up happening is you'd turn it, it'd push that cone and, you know, squeeze the spring, and then, you know, you'd let go and the spring would naturally want to go down and snap back. But because it's just one spring that's usually undermade kind of thing, it would snap back, but like that spring would wear out really fast. Versus like later on you get some ones with much better systems. Like they'll have like a coiled spring for each of the axes and all that, and usually like redundant and all that. So it's a much denser spring. That way when you do like the coiling back and forth and all that kind of stuff, when you're steering it around, they can be a bit too firm when you first get them, but when you break them in, they feel great and they hold up for a very long time. Like the only thing I've had to do with the Thrustmaster HOTUS I've had here for well over a decade is at one point I did have to clean gunk out that, you know, it's just like dirt and dust and stuff that it gets in where the stick goes in. It has the ball that it rolls around on. You know, dirt and dust gets in there. You just have to go in once. I mean, like, it's only been one time ever in the 10 years. You just take the screws out, pull that out, clean the crap out of it, put a little lubricant so it lasts longer, and you put it back in and put it together. It's designed pretty well to take apart and do that. They like literally have screw spots on the plate. Alright, so I need to get inspected. I definitely sideswiped a car right there. It's fine. I mean, that car had it coming. I didn't see its headlights. Which is probably on me, honestly, but you know. Force feedback? It could be force feedback you're talking about. I could see it being a couple different things. It could be like the resistance where it tries to pull it back, or when stuff happens that the steering wheel tries to, like, pull, like, the force feedback at a steering wheel, for example, when you start going off onto the side of the road, like, it kind of wants to pull itself over. Not as, like, a safety feature, but because you're dealing with terrain. Or, like, a vibration to it or whatever. There's, like, all sorts of different functionality that. It's like, I just noticed hate in my previous message. My English is on point. It's fine. You found a contraband cache in the mine in Mars Starfield. Money. For the record, we're avoiding spoilers, which that's not a spoiler that the cookie's talking about. I'm just prefacing before I say anything else. We are avoiding spoilers, so I will not be giving spoilers. I will say I have reached the end of the main story in Starfield. I am greatly enjoying it. I have also been romancing one of the characters, and I have enjoyed her story a great deal. It took a while to get going, but when it did, I have enjoyed it. Is it the greatest story to ever story? No. Hard no. But it's been good. I am not unhappy. Would you recommend it for Fallout players? Yeah, no, if you enjoy Skyrim, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, any of those games, it's basically take that game, but in space. It adds additional systems onto that style of game. So, like, instead of just, you do Fallout things, you have spaceship combat, which doesn't exist in Fallout in any capacity. But you can actually, if you don't enjoy the spaceship combat, you only have to do a little tiny bit of it as a requirement. There's only a couple encounters, if you don't want to deal with it. Hit the police officer? No. You're letting your dark impulses pop out. Gotta tuck those back away. Yeah, no, I would definitely say, I would say the gunplay in Starfield is better than Fallout. Like that to me is just a hard thing. I would never say the gunplay in the Fallout games is particularly great. It was kind of passable. Like it was fine. I never played the Fallout games for the gunplay. I always played it for like the story and the world and checking it out and that kind of stuff. Like I'd actually say Fallout's gunplay is a little on the weak side. But I have no complaints about Starfield's gunplay. Like it's not gonna be anything like if you're like, is it like Escape from Tarkov with a hyper? No, it's not. It's just not. But it's just perfectly fine gunplay for a lot of the games. It's about what you'd expect from a game that is a first-person shooter that's like made for purposes of being a first-person shooter. Like your, I don't know, you can compare it to like your Counter-Strike, your PUBGs, all these kind of games. Alright, so we are yawning, so we do need to make it to a rest stop. As much as I do want to try and just push out the last bit here. I didn't get a chance to check it out. I was in the middle of a bunch of things. I did see that you sent me it, but before stream is when I get like a lot of stuff ready. And so I actually started stream like a couple minutes late because I was trying to run around and get a bunch of stuff done that needed to get done. Dishes, all that. So I have not had a chance to check it out. I did see it had something to do with basically prosthetic limbs. Like an advancement in prosthetic limbs. I didn't see what it was though. But there has been some real cool advancements in prostheses. Like the fact that nowadays, like you'd go to say like something like a theme park, and anyone who had a prosthetic limb would almost always be in a wheelchair in the past because walking on the old ones was horrendously bad. Like it was very painful, it was very uncomfortable, and doing that for a length of time is just asking to suffer. And it would, you'd stand out like a sore thumb in the sense that like, because they were so rigid in the past and like had no flexible points or whatever, you'd have like a walk to you that made you stand out that there's something with your leg. But nowadays you look at the prostheses we've got and you'll walk around and a person will seem like nothing is going on there at all until you like just happen to notice there's like, instead of having an ankle, there's a hinge there and you're like, oh, that's a prosthetic leg. It's amazing. and arms and hands are getting there. They're not. I would say legs are farther along than arms and hands, but yeah, because like when I was in school, like the best you could find for a prosthetic arm was just this thing that attached at your elbow-ish area, and it had these two hooks that pinched. That it was the way you bent your elbow like this, was how you operated it, and it would just pinch, and that was about as best we had at that point in time. Versus nowadays, they have arms with hands that look, you know, there's some of them they try and look natural, but I think a lot of people, because those ones are harder to keep unnoticeable, I've been finding a lot of people, which I think is a very good positive mental health thing, have been like leaning into it and getting ones that look like Iron Man arms or like some sci-fi arm thing, but it's just dressed up. It's just the way the prostheses look. That you know, they function all like don't have quite the range of a natural hand, but they get really far. That they can rotate, they can do each and every finger individually. Like they can point, they can grab. It's still not like perfect or anything, but it has come a real long way. It's also a thing that for children who unfortunately need prosthetic arms and hands, that you know, doing stuff like making it look like superhero arms, like, you know, like, again, Iron Man being the go-to because, I mean, that just, it's a really easy thing to get a positive thing. It's like, you're like Iron Man. But, or whatever. These kids get all pumped because they get to have this, like, super cool, like, you know, hand. It gives them a good amount of their abilities back. Not all of it, but a good range. And then it's like, they go to school and it's not so much they get bullied and pick on for it. You have other kids who get jealous that they have this, like, you know, super awesome Iron Man thing that they're allowed to wear to school. And I'm sure there's kids who pick on because there's always going to be that. But, I can't imagine it's nearly as bad as, again, when you went to school and you had the two hooks that pinch. Like, that was the thing. Like, back then, those things stood out so badly that it was just putting a big target on the poor kid that, you know, people would just pick fun of or they'd be weird about or whatever. Because kids can be pretty cruel. Let's see, your favorite thing to do Starsfield is shoot at oxygen tanks I come across. They fly around and then explode. It's amazing. I've done it with the fire extinguishers as well. They don't fly around as much, but there's times I'll have an enemy behind cover and I'll hit the fire extinguisher and it causes the enemy to, like, panic and step out of the cover, and then you shoot them a lot. Yeah, also propane tanks. Yeah. There's lots of opportunities to use environment against the enemies. I found quite a few ways to knock enemies over so they actually fall over and have to stand back up. For all the harder enemies, that's like my go-to strategy for dealing with enemies that hit you really, really hard, is to knock them over, run up to them as fast as I can with my weapon that fires the bullets the absolute fastest, and just, like, put the gun directly against it and empty the magazine into it, and then run away. There's quite a few strategies. Not gonna lie, you blew yourself up a few times, Starfield. I've only done it once or twice, and usually it's not like there was something explosive that I hadn't realized. Like it'll be like a really large tank, that, you know, a lot of those things you can't damage, so I'll just open fire and it explodes in your face. You're like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was like shooting into a volatile fuel tank or something. My bad. I was just trying to hit this person shooting at me. Especially after getting the rectangular minigun thing. I actually haven't gotten that. There's a huge range of weapons in that game. One of the things that happens, though, is they give you, like, the non-special version of weapons, like the magic, epic, whatever. I don't know if they could have those. And I'll be like, it's not the special version, vendor. And some of those weapons that are actually, like, really good that I end up vendoring. But I have an assault rifle in the game that has a very high chance of knocking people down, and I think it was for every consecutive hit it does, like, more damage or something like that. So my strategy is to pop a shot or two to knock the person down, run up to them, and empty the magazine. Because by the end, I'm just doing silly amounts of damage. The downside is it has a bad reload time, so again, if I run out of bullets, I have to run away so I'm not standing directly on the super dangerous thing. Because I've invested nothing in my ground combat. Is there a random deer that come out of nowhere and smash the front of your fender? Nope. It's not that kind of game. You stole the shotgun from Jake's in the well. It's pretty good. I haven't gone... Like, that's the thing with how big the universe is in Starfield. There are a lot of major locations I have never been to. And that's been running down a whole lot of side quests and doing... Like I said, I'm kind of at the very end of the main story. Like, I won't say any spoilers at all, but I'm very close to the end. Yeah, no, I've been to the well. It's just one of those things, is I've been, like, through it 2 or 3 times, and that's kind of about it. Because I've had quests that have taken me everywhere else. But there's just so much content in there. And one thing I do appreciate about it is, at least so far, it hasn't felt like a lot of the Fallout and Skyrim side stuff, where you kind of go and just, it feels like you keep running into the same, go kill these 10 bad guys kind of quests. Even the repeatable quests do have some variety. Yeah, P. Zomboid, stop being weird, man. You know I don't do that kind of stuff. I've never been one to be like a Dark Urges type of content. Like Hey, Exotic Jim, thank you for the biddy. And I can get a hydrate here in just a second. Like, that's the thing. We had the one evil run we did in RimWorld. Otherwise, I don't think at any point I've done... Oh, that's not true. We were doing some pretty grim stuff in Starfield. But, generally speaking, I don't do a lot of, like, dark, grim, awful things. Like, there's games I play that certainly, you know, like, thematically and everything like that, they're dark and grim. Like, Project Zomboid is definitely not a positive vibe when you listen to the story. But yeah, and that's just not the kind of stuff for the channel. I don't do that. And I especially will go out of my way to not do it when people tell me to do it. Because, you know, that's backseat gaming. So I will deliberately not do that. Yeah, now if you're looking for dark, edgy content, sorry, man. Wrong place. Just not the vibe of the channel. I should have gone. The locations you find on plants, labs, abandoned, whatever, they're quite big and detailed. Oh, you don't have a stop. Look, I'm judging you, sir, because you are in a convertible, it's raining. If you're going to stop there, I expect to see that top come up. If your boot's there, pull off the road, take your boot off. Oh my god. Why are you the way you are? Sir? Hang on, my mirror's in the way. Sir. Sir. Don't be the way you are. You know what? I feel no guilt in clipping that car. That car yielded the right of way when they should not have yielded the right of way. Do not yield the right of way unless there's like really big circumstances. All you're doing is confusing everyone on the road, making it more dangerous, slowing down the speed of traffic. Like when you pull up to a 4-way stop and the other, like you're there first, you go. Don't yield the right of way. You go. You are literally slowing everyone else down and making everyone not sure what's going on when you wave someone else on. Just follow the order of operations and be done with it. Stop drifting forward. There you go. Like, that's actually... Real life me gets super frustrated when I pull up to a 4-way stop. There's someone who's been, like, sitting there the entire time I've been approaching the 4-way stop. I stop there, and they're like, you know, like, waving you on. You're like, no. It's like, don't do that. Like, just go. Just go. I understand you think you're doing a nice thing, but you're making this confusing and needlessly complicated. You run to stuff. Yeah, when I found when you land on the planet, you do get a lot of reoccurring things. That there are certain like buildings you'll see multiple of that are the randomly generated ones. It's like when you land at any like mission marker, everything there seems to be pretty solid. But like if you land on random spot on map number 10, like that you just click on a random spot, you say I want to land here. Those random spots, a lot of the content there can be a bit of duplicate. But I haven't run to a point where there you go. But I haven't run to a point that it's been like, you know, really, really bad. I would say, like, if I were to make a change to the game, you found out that your computer can't run Starfield. Oh, that's a bummer. I know a lot of people ran into that. Let's see. Oh yeah, if you land on a random spot, the locations are very generic. Yep. That's why I hate the recommendation for defensive driving. A lot of the time, direct driving is more effective. So, okay. It depends on what you're qualifying in defensive driving. Because I generally do agree with some defensive driving stuff, but yeah, like yielding the right of way, that's not a defensive driving thing. Yielding the right of way is just screwing everything up for everybody. Again, well-meaning people, but stop it. But like defensive driving of saying like, hey, I'm gonna stick in my lane, hey, I'm gonna make sure I have enough enough distance between me and the person in front of me, like, and pad it out a little bit. That's defensive driving to me, and I think that's fine. All right, so we only got new hubcaps and everything. I haven't looked at any of these to see. Those all look tires and that kind of stuff. All right, so we've done our delivery here. And what we can do here is, I don't particularly need to have my character sleep or anything. We're in the middle of Oakland. So let's say we got a freight job here. We're looking for decent freight jobs. I might go with this one because it's the best price per mile. Versus these other ones are quite a bit farther, so much lower price per mile. So go ahead and do that. And I also don't think I've been to Carson City. It's like well-meaning people stop traffic totally just to let one car in that would have gotten in fine in just a minute so longer. Yeah, like it's there are times they will stop to let a person in. Like if it's, you know, a semi trying to get on the road and it's a busy road during rush hour, it's like, all right, it's a red light. I will deliberately I will stop way back to make it very clear to semi. It's like, you go as fast as you can, man. I'm giving you the space, but I'm only going to do that like when I have to come to stop for like a red light. I won't just like randomly on the highway like slow down and like let the person in, because usually that's more negative impact to the roadway than positive. As you talk to Papa Strider about me possibly getting a new computer. Yeah, no, I know a lot of people. I can't speak for how Starfield runs on a mid-range computer or lower-end computer. I've heard it's not great. But I have a computer that's been very recently built. Like it was just over. I mean, it's almost 2 years ago now. Whenever it was, and it was not top of the line, but pretty close to it when I built it. What about those who turn into your lane, travel 20 feet? Then stop and turn, let's see. And turn when there's no one behind you. And if you wait another 10 seconds, you could turn into... Well, I mean, yeah, no, the people like who like drive past you and block and all that. It's not that it was a stop-go traffic. It was moving fast and this person stops. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like if traffic is moving, you don't worry about letting someone in. Like if traffic is moving, it's unfortunate, like unless it's like an ambulance or something with the sirens running or whatever, but you just keep going with the traffic. Sooner or later, they're either going to find their opening or the traffic is going to have to stop, and then it would say it is it is good at that point when traffic stops to make room for them to be able to get in. I didn't take that turn enough. Okay, cop. In this particular case, you're the one who did the party foul, because I was already turning into the area, and then you cut off in front of me. Let's also not speed directly into the cop. For you, it won't even boot? Yeah, no, that's, yeah, no, I've heard that. I have no idea what range of computer you have or anything. But, I have heard people with, like, mid to low-end computers, or old high-end computers, that, when I say mid to low, I'm talking by modern hardware. I'll put it that way. So it doesn't matter when you bought it, by comparison to now's stats. It can do a lot. You need to force the set SV16 your graphics card control panel. I've seen that one as well. Like, I didn't run into problems. I didn't have to do that, but I know there was I know there's been a couple content creators who actually have pretty solid hardware that were running into crashes, and the way they fixed it was they went into their graphics card manufacturer's software and hard locked the game to not go over 60 FPS. Let's see, the modified ultra config you use made it possible for me to play without looking like crap, because when I switched to medium, everything looks pretty bad. Gotcha. Your game crashed a lot during stream, so you had to do that to fix. Strider, what you'll have to do that is you'll have to know, one, what type of video card you have, whether it's NVIDIA or AMD. And then they will both have software that comes with them, and it'll be in that software. But where exactly it is depends on, like, what version of the software you have and everything like that. And also the classic, make sure your drivers are up to date. When you have these games that are going to be really intense, always make sure your drivers are up to date. The vast majority of the time, they'll work with them. But it's one of those things you'll probably have to Google a guide on how to do it. Like, where to exactly find if you don't know what you're doing. Because if I tell you, like, how... I mean, I haven't done it mine, so I have to look it up myself. But if I were to look up how to do it on my own, the way mine would work could very easily be very different from how it's for yours. It's not just like a Windows setting where you just go Windows, lock it at 60. It's every hardware manufacturer has their own thing. It can even be an additional problem if you have a, like, it's not like NVIDIA itself made the card, but like some other company who has their own version of the software. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely falling in the category of one of those things that, unfortunately, it might not be something that can be explained over stream reasonably. It's like when people ask me how to do, like, you know, check certain things in their BIOS kind of thing. It's like, if I was present at your location, I'd be happy to walk you through that. But trying to explain that, in text on the internet is not gonna work too well. That's pull up like a YouTube guide or something like that, where someone has taken the time to record and edit and do it all right. I'm sure there's gonna be guides out there by now as well, for that specific thing, since it's been a problem. Best thing is to Google and spend the hours you had to spend in order to get all your settings good. Yep, I didn't do that. I just went, it's not crashing. Well, I mean, I had 3 crashes so far out of like 50, 60, 70 hours, whatever it is I have in Starfield. And all 3 of those were like in the same time frame. They were in the same place, but the type of content I was doing, which I was doing bounties, had me loading in and out of systems like really fast. That guy's knocking out like 2-3 bounties every 20 minutes or so. So I was just switching systems like, you know, loading in new areas like every 5 minutes or so, and that was when I ran into a bit of crashes. But it was only like the one night. You also downloaded the Ready preset from Nexus Workskit. The Ready preset. Yeah, now I've been avoiding mods so far because it is one of those games that if you mod it, it disables achievements, and yes, there is a mod to re-enable achievements. But I've been bitten before with those situations where the achievement enabling mod, that something changes in the game and it no longer works, but it hasn't quite caught up that it doesn't work yet, and then you miss out an achievement that, you know, you only had one shot to get it, and now you're kind of just screwed. You don't have the achievement, you can't really go back and do that. And I know people be like, oh, well, just get the Steam achievement unlocker, whatever it was. And I know there was a point that Steam did ban a couple of people for it, using the unlocker, because they had been, like, unlocking achievements in games that hadn't come out yet or something like that. I don't know what ultimately happened with that, but it's just one of those things that I'm like, you never know when someone like seems like, yeah, we've decided you're not allowed to do that anymore. Oh, just replace an INI for the graphics thing. Oh yeah, no, I made a couple INI changes. Like I made the INI change to the game that makes it so when I click out of the window, it doesn't stop all its audio. Because why do I need to make an INI change to do that? Like why is it borderless? It just keeps the audio working when I click out of the window, like every other game does, unless you specifically state for it not to. Why are you tapping your brakes so much? I mean, the answer is because the people in front of them. But I just want to get around this corner, man. I think you have to go to the other gate. It's fine either way. Let's see, you had to fix your INI mod file the other night. I had all my code, but it wouldn't work. Apparently, it was a format issue, and you had to recreate the file from scratch. It took many hours of troubleshooting. Yeah, and I understand for a lot of this, it's getting the game to run. But that's the kind of stuff I run into sometimes when I mod stuff, that I spend all that time troubleshooting the mods, which is why I just don't mod much anymore. I think that's part of like, being a software dev kind of thing. Is just, you spend so much time doing all the troubleshooting for the job, that when you get home at the end of the day, you're like, do you want to troubleshoot this? No. The answer is just no. What I want to do is I want to play the heckin' game. I troubleshoot stuff all day. It's not that I don't enjoy that kind of work, but no. Alright, yeah, and we're going to go to Carson City. The game ran fine. It was that the console commands weren't running. You fixed it. Chat, we can't look at this. The orange and that green do not go together, chat. I find this deeply upsetting. Our truck does... Oh, that's so terrible. We're doing bad marketing for this company because everyone's going to look at our truck and be like, this is a garish combination of colors. There's nothing wrong with either color, but they do not belong together. Where are we at? We are at Oakland at the moment. That was where I need to go. That's a nice refinery heater there. Yeah, I don't know what a lot of this equipment is. I've learned a lot from Tomb about like different types of water equipment. All that across the street behind you. You don't really have a way I can see it well, sadly. Ooh, it looks like we could take a route we've never taken before, like an actual length drive. That's part of the reason I chose this one. Is like, I don't think I've been to Carson yet. Let's go to Carson. Let's see. You can upload your file to Discord with the bat file too. Anyone wants to use it. The only commands I have so far increase the ship's own limit, and reduce ship registration costs, which both can be modified to suit your gameplay. Yeah, be real careful about downloading .bat files. I understand, like, you know, sending cookies to memory computer, like, entrust them all that, but be real careful downloading any type of executable file. It's not a .bat file? Did I misread that? I probably misread it. Where did... It's called a bat file. Why would they do this? It's a text file? Why would they do this? Like, don't get me wrong, you can often open bat files in text format, but I mean, it would be a .bat file to be executable. Like, if at any point they have you rename it .bat or .exe or something like that, I don't think .exe would work. Actually, I'm not sure on that one. Then, you know, it is an executable file. But yeah, because I've made .bat files for, like, mostly it was for just like easy to do maintenance stuff, like copy these files to that place, and I didn't want to have to like redo that manually a whole bunch. I just might make a .bat file that runs, you know, on computer start, or, you know, whatever, or, you know, on a schedule or whatever. That would just kind of a cheap and dirty backup. Nothing like for a full system backup, just like if I want, like for what I could do, and I didn't do it, I debated a couple times. For Project Zomboid, I could make it that I could hit a thing that would just take the current save file and back it up just in case it gets corrupted or anything. Because with those marathon runs, that's always like your big fear, is you put, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into a run, and then like your save gets corrupted, and it's unplayable now, and it's just gone. You didn't die to a zombie, it's just your computer, you know, knobbed the save file, which I never had happen, but I did know there was another content creator who was pushing for the record and made it pretty good progress. I want to say they're like 70 or 80,000. And then, you know, they got a corrupted save file, and so their run was over. There's no backup or anything, so that was that. The text file contains the console commands, and the INI contains the scripts to auto-run it. Yeah, so still be careful with that. Like, again, it's fine if you vet it or whatever, and you know and trust your stuff. But when you're getting into that, so the console commands, make sure you actually understand what the heck they're doing before you just start slamming in a bunch of console commands into your computer. And then the scripts, it depends on what kind of scripts and what they have access to. If they're scripts like they're doing like a Lua script for the game itself, those are relatively safe. They can have problems, but it's pretty rare they do anything significant. But you can have stuff. Oh, sorry, I should say, with the console commands, are you talking console commands like in-game? Never mind, you're okay there. That's fine. Right. That's what I was about to ask. Like, wait a second, are you talking about in-game console? Or are you talking console commands like computer stuff? All right. Yeah, in-game console commands are nowhere near as dangerous. Yeah, that's the reason I was going into the area of caution. My mind is like, oh man, like console commands, like you pulled up command prompt type thing. Um, I was like, make sure you know exactly what they're doing before you fire it off. Like if you see something that says move file from A to B, you're like, okay, I understand that. You know, and you understand what the, you know, like what that's doing. Versus if it's like something like UTRL dash F space dash S space dash N space 12 like that, or you're just like, oh yeah, let me just fire that away. Like, do you have any idea what that's doing? No, then you shouldn't do it. Not unless you really trust your source. Yeah, on the system one you call terminal. Yeah, so I've had I've worked in Linux, I've worked in Mac, and I've worked on Windows over the years. So if someone says console, they say command prompt, or they say terminal, my brain puts those all as the same thing. To me, those are all just the same name. For me, what I use the most is I usually will probably call it... So if I'm thinking in the context of working in it, I'll usually call it command prompt. Console is one I'll go with. It was called terminal in Windows way back in the day. I don't remember that. I remember it as command prompt way back. Was that like Windows 3.1 kind of thing that it was, Look, man, you know what's gonna happen. See prompt? What's happening here? Why did you all stop moving in the middle of the road for no reason? What's my speed limit? Why am I not seeing my actual... There we go. I was like, why is there no speed limit? Don't do this to me. I like knowing how fast I'm legally allowed to go. They're just imitating the bad drivers or reality. Of reality? Yeah. Yeah, and I would... It's just one of those things that... And the reason why console pops in your head is like, why would you call it console with that? Is when you get into doing those types of commands and all that with switches and routers and like all sorts of peripherals and hardware, they usually refer to as console on that. So like you'd have command prompt in Windows, and you might interact with like on a I'm blanking on the big brand for routing equipment, Cisco. You'd have like the Cisco console. You'd have the, and, I think actually they may have renamed that to terminal, but you have the Cisco console, and then like in Mac and Linux, their equivalent to command prompt is called terminal. They're all the same basic concept. They just the different platforms what they are. That's one of those things I learned to be like interchangeable about them, because like for example, when I was authoring courses, they actually started me with a Mac, and almost everyone in that office was on Macs. And I'm like, you're having me teach, you know, technology that's primarily on Windows. I can work with this, and I did work with it for like 2 years, but it's like, when it comes time to refresh the laptop, we really should get me on a Windows laptop. Because that's gonna be your primary target audience, is going to be people with Windows for this tech stack. So I should also be working in that in that, you know, environment. Let's use Linux, so all of them are just terminal emulators to me. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I used a bunch of emulators for like, while I was on the Mac, I would emulate. When I say emulator, like, I would have emulator's not the word I would use. What was it? Basically, I'd have, I mean, it's an emulator. You'd have an emulator for Windows, so you could like, when I was writing my courses, so I could give you the correct UI for how you would see it in each platform and all that. I'd be like, okay, you know, you're gonna do XYZ. Here's what this looks like in the, you know, the like the tools for Mac, and here's what it looks like for the tools in Windows. We didn't usually worry about Linux that much, and the only reason for that is, one, the particular tech stack I was working in doesn't really have much, like, people using Linux will run the software made in the tech stack, but there was really not many people who were authoring, like, writing software in the tech stack on Linux. There's just other preferences that were more common on Linux. So usually, like, for installing it, that kind of thing, we would give you the Linux commands as well, but, like, actually showing the UI, we wouldn't bother with, because you also had not only that, but, you know, they could be using GNU as their UI, they could be using one of, like, a dozen other UIs. There's two really big ones I remember. They could be using those. They could have, you know, a dozen different distros. So writing any type of meaningful tutorial or teaching thing for people who are Linux users, it's like, hey, if you're on Linux, you just gotta figure this out. It's like, I can't write 30 variations of the same tutorial just to accommodate every combination of things you might deal with here. You shouldn't speed. That's what happens. I didn't get penalized for that one. He struck me. This is quite the hill. But yeah, no, it's like I used to run Linux as my main. I mean, I guess it's so when I was a college student, like right when like there's the whole netbook thing going on, I got my hands on a netbook. I think I bought it for like $100 because broke college student life. And I remember I ran Linux on that for a long time. Like I had run Linux before, but not as like a main operating system. But while I was stuck on that netbook, you know, I ran like the tiniest micro distribution of Linux I could find. I can't remember what it was. I know I tried Ubuntu and Knoppix and a couple others, and I settled on. I don't remember which I actually. I think I settled on Knoppix. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And I used that as my daily driver for a while, but very much once I got money that I could get back into a proper computer, then I got, you know, a Windows PC again. But I mean, that's also at a point in time where getting Linux to run smoothly kind of thing, and not... It was the kind of same thing where I complain about modding, that there's a certain point where you're spending more time just trying to keep your operating system doing what you want it to do than actually using it. And that was kind of where Linux was outside of, like, Red Hat and all that back in those days. That, like, outside of, like, very specific, like, commercial purposes, it was tough to keep stuff running right. And being able to enjoy stuff, like, because those days, the drivers that would come out for your graphics cards and all that were absolute garbage half the time. Like, even more so than they are nowadays, the actual viable ones. I mean, these days I wonder if the Linux graphics card drivers might actually be better by not being a dumpster fire of bugs and errors, but I honestly don't know. Because the number of times we get, like, the new NVIDIA or the new AMD, yeah, the new AMD drivers, and then there's problems. And you're like, this is your actual, like, commercial first tier, like, from the house Windows driver, and they're junk. Hey, Deja Vu, how's it going? Like, you start crashing and all that because they have some, like, horrible bug in their driver, and you're like, come on. This is one of those things you really need to be getting right. But that's how, But that's how it used to be for Linux, is you'd be like, oh, I have to buy one of these two video cards because right now all the other recently released video cards, we don't have software yet to run it correctly. And then you get like the first version of driver, and it would run, but not well. And then over time it would get decent. That's how it used to be. I don't know about nowadays. I haven't used Linux in an age for anything other than like bringing up, taking some screenshots of how to do certain things and put it back away. Oh yeah, and I would and you know, saying Linux has evolved a lot. It's so much easier to install and use these days. Yeah, and I remember back in the day you had to sit there and go, okay, what distro am I using? And there's no real elegant way to research the distros. And you go, okay, now I've decided what distro, what GUI am I using? And it wouldn't be just you'd sit there and go through like a wizard and do it. You'd have to like install it, and then you have to go and get the GUI, and you have to install it as a separate package. You have to do this other thing as a separate package. You have to do the configurations. And it's like, yeah, even as a power user, it's like, okay, this is something you gotta sit down and put a lot of effort into, and you're still gonna be doing like some cleanup and tweaking and all that. But nowadays, like, and I'll credit Ubuntu primarily for this, even though like a bunch of the different distros got in. That Ubuntu's whole mark is like, we want to make running Linux as easy as Windows. Was kind of their whole thing, their whole shtick. That you'd go and say, install Linux, okay, and it asks you like that handful of questions it needs to ask you so you can configure like, where do you want me to install this, that kind of stuff, and you'd be done. And instead of like making you seek out all the packages, it'd be like, okay, you've got, was it KDE and GNU were the GUIs back then? I could be wrong about KDE, but they'd be like, do you want this one or this one, and they'd have like an example of what both look like. Manually configuring network with the commands was such a pain. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like back when I was messing with Linux, people were like, Linux is the future. Like we're all gonna be not using that Windows. I'm like, no, man. I'm sorry. It's like, don't get me wrong, this is totally usable, but like this is only power user maybe, and only the ones who want to put in the time. This is not gonna be mainstream. It's like maybe someday, but this is not the year of Linux, I'm gonna tell you. But yeah, no, it's come a long way. But there were like, it'd be every time there'd be a new version of like Knoppix or whatever. It'd be like, it's the year of Linux. They're finally gonna break through. They're gonna take the market. It's like, no, they're not, man. If this was Debian, it wasn't a good experience. Yeah, I tried Debian. I tried Knoppix. I tried Ubuntu. I messed with Red Hat because when I was getting my certifications for IT, I got the Linux Plus certification, which is mostly Red Hat. There was a bunch of others I tried that I could not tell you what the name are. And when I say tried, it was like pop in, work with just a little bit, pop out kind of thing. The only ones that put real time in was Ubuntu and Knoppix. That's because, again, dealing with the netbook, you could get what's known as a micro installation. That what it was like they took Linux and they like stripped it down to almost nothing. So you would just put on like the 2 or 3 things you needed. Because those netbooks, when they came out, it's like someone used a processor of an actual potato chip. Like someone took a slice of potato, shoved it in there, and called, that's good enough for a processor. That's how incredibly underpowered those netbooks were. So you needed to do everything in your power to make it so you had like the absolute minimal system requirements, because you didn't have a system with anything worthwhile in it. That's also a big reason why Vista was so ill received when it came out. Was it came out when that was the direction computers were going, was what is the cheapest I can get a computer, and just underpowered, and Vista was operating on the expectations that the computers were continuing to get stronger. So it was just really bad read on the market. So you had someone who needed a little bit more hardware than Windows operating systems had before, at a time when everyone was buying underpowered computers. Like, especially buying underpowered computers. Like, it was a short time frame where you could buy a new computer and run you like $100 to $300. And they're all terrible and awful and didn't last very long. And that went away because they were all terrible and awful and didn't last very long. But that was the trend at the time. Can't tell you how many times doing my computer repairs I had to run into random e-machines that had no cooling in them whatsoever. It was just, their cooling strategy was, it was a big box that was mostly empty. So it'd take a while for the air in the box to get hot. But when the air in the box did get hot, then you'd overheat and crash. I don't think they had a single case fan, though. I think you had a CPU fan, and that was it. Man, those things were pieces of junk. They were cheap, though. That was the whole point. I'm glad that trend is over. It's a shame Windows is bloated with telemetry and background processes that make it run much slower. So, it's not that bad nowadays. Like, they still do collect it, but it's really not one of those things that they're collecting, like, everything. Like, and a lot of them will let you opt out of most of the collection anyways, not all of it. But I haven't appreciably seen those telemetry things have much of any impact on the operating system. Like, I personally found in my own experience with similar hardware that OS X would run way worse than the Windows operating systems performance-wise. And this is my experience as someone who's used both for extended periods of time, just to be clear. And that when it came to Linux, unless you went out of your way to have like a really streamlined distro, like installation of Linux, it's one of those things that people end up putting too much stuff in their Linux operating system, like too many additional things that they kind of walk themselves into the same problem. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I do wish, so Enoch saying, you have to opt out, that's already a problem, you should have to opt in. I don't disagree. I do wish when you first installed Windows, or when you first booted Windows, in the case of a prefab computer, that'd say, hey, we collect telemetry data to, you know, help us make informed decisions about yada yada yada. Do you want to allow us to do this? Yes, no. Like, I wish they would just present it right there. And I'm even okay with the default option being yes. Just, you know, before you continue, it does very plainly give you the thing saying, hey, we're collecting data, do you want to let us do this? Let's see, your mom would literally bring your computer to its knees with the crap she put it through? Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the things is, like, a lot of times, I remember getting to, and again, we're going back to the context of, like, 2002, 2005, somewhere in that time frame. That, you know, people were crying that it was going to be the year of Linux. Because I think Ubuntu had just dropped, and that was, like, supposedly is supposed to be as easy to use as Windows, and that, like, that day and age, it was definitely not. These days it's pretty close, if not, you know, very similar. But, I remember that, you know, having the discussions where people was like, Well, oh, we didn't get penalized for that. Why was people stopping in the middle of the road? In a 70 area? What's wrong with people? Why didn't I get penalized for that? Like, I didn't thread the needle, I slammed into both of them. But I thread the needle in the sense I kept going. It didn't register that I did damage to it either. What is there? Here somewhere. Yeah, I don't think that damaged me any more than it was already damaged. Yeah, it didn't happen then. And Windows Update switching my system settings after each update. So, I don't have Windows Update switching any system settings on me outside of, like, really, really rare with, like, a major service pack. Like, those have absolutely had it. Oh, okay. For a moment I thought it was going to be a detour situation. It's just that. What I do have is anytime something changes my audio configuration, OBS forgets what the heck it's doing with audio. Which is a very different issue. Now, Windows Update causes it to see a change to audio systems, and then OBS throws its hands in the air, runs down the hallway screaming and going, I forgot all my audio settings, which it shouldn't do, but that's OBS. Like, don't get me wrong, I will slam Windows for the things it does wrong. But, like, it's one of those things that it's very easy for people to start piling on with stuff. I'm like, no, if you're gonna pile on, make sure you're piling on stuff that is, like, actually the things it's doing. Not punishing it for the sins it didn't do. Or, like, for that matter, like, focus on the actual big problems or whatever. But yeah, now these days between OS X, Windows, and Linux, you can choose all of them. They're all usable. There's definitely strengths and weaknesses in the different operating systems. Like, I have personally found when dealing with Linux, you run into more headaches with gaming that you have to kind of, like, work around certain problems. Just because the games very often are not made with Linux in mind. It's not insurmountable or anything like that, and it's usually the higher performant games that are the more problematic ones. Basically, you have 5 different antiviruses running at the same time. Automatic updates. So automatic updates is not usually a problem. Now, running 5 virus things at the same time, yeah, it'll kill a computer. You should never have more than one antivirus, never have more than one backup solution running on the same thing. Yep, operating system is just the canvas you run your programs on. Yep. And that's a matter of if those programs are designed to properly work with your operating system, which is still a pain point that Linux runs into. Is a lot of software you end up having to emulate or use other solutions to make it so you can run it on an operating system that is not officially supported. I mean, most of the time it runs okay, but you end up with more edge cases. And I just don't want to troubleshoot any of that stuff. And also, as a creator, I don't want to have to sit here and worry about going, okay, you know, is this game going to run on my Mac, or is this game going to run on my Linux computer, which may or may not be formally supported? Since he wasn't Bill Gates and Popstrat would say, yeah, I mean, that's, that was also a lot of times in a respondent. So, like, when I was doing IT, and, like, not, like, I had the corporate IT where I was in there in the office, supporting the computers in the office, dealing with the network administration, there's that. But I also ran my own side business where, you know, I would go in and service people's computers or whatever. And I would say 90+% of the time, literally all I was doing was going in, finding stuff like on their browser, all of the toolbars they accidentally installed over the years. They would end up having, like, computer came with McAfee and it was running, but they didn't like McAfee, so they got Norton, but now both of them are running. Or, like, one of them wasn't properly uninstalled, so they're fighting with each other, that bring a computer to its knees. There's always stuff like that. In my entire time working in IT, I never once had someone have to call me because a Windows update trashed their computer. In my time working in the office, I never once had to go and be like, oh, we need to disable updates because this update broke everything. And there are times that have happened over the years that updates have broken things, for the record. I'm not saying that isn't the case, but I'm saying is exceedingly rare. Like, for the record, I always keep my computers up to date on the latest Windows update. And to date, I've only had one Windows update that caused me headaches, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like computer unusable, can't do my job kind of bad. And I have had stuff like while an update was going on kind of thing that, you know, I had a hard drive on the fritz, and it was the thing that, you know, dealt the final blow, but that's a different story. That's a hardware failure. Alright, you use Windows Developer Defender and Malwarebytes along with Glary Utilities. I don't know Glary Utilities. And Revo installer, but that's another thing. Well, Windows Defender is... Let's see. Strider at the most suffering from outside time. Well, that's sorry. Sorry to hear that. That's not the button I wanted. There we go. I hit the wrong button. I pulled up the radio. And Revo installer. Well, that's I have no idea what Glary Utilities 5 is. And I don't know what Revo installer. Like Windows Defender and Malwarebytes would be the two antivirus style things. But a lot of times when people say they run Malwarebytes, it's not that they're running it actively. They're doing the thing where you say I would like to run this and you do your scan. So you wouldn't want to have like an active antivirus like Windows Defender checking stuff that's happening and the active version of Malwarebytes going at the same time. Because what could happen is it can trigger off each other where one of them scans the file, the other one sees that suspicious, so scans the file, which triggers the other one that scans the file, like that kind of thing. Where they just, like, every file change, now two different programs are hitting it really hard. Like, everything you do, like, two different antiviruses are looking into it. But yeah, of antivirus, it just sits there and then you run it kind of thing. Yeah, you can have as many of those you want. But, you ate something a little while ago, but certain property there. That's not fun. Revo installer is really good. What is Revo installer? Is that just a like to me Revo installer sounds like it's either for clearing out extra like junk or like cleaning up, you know, installation stuff, like, or removing stuff like that. That's what it sounds like to me, but I've never heard of it before. I also don't know what glary utilities are. Revo install cleans up lifters. Yeah, you had two antivirus programs running, and other in the backup of the hard drive. My CPU was literally at 90% booting up. Yeah, that was a lot of times they ran to computers where they had like two either antiviruses or two like performance tuning applications or anything that hits the system like that, like that's doubled up. That's usually where I ran to most thing. So let's go into Carson City because I need gas and sleep, and there's gas and sleep right there in Carson. That should be exiting to the right. But yeah. There's a lot of stuff you can get yourself in trouble with, but just, having programs that individually are actually good, but having too many of them trying to do the same thing. There were people who were like, oh yeah, well, if one antivirus isn't good enough, you could use two. It's like, no. This is not one of those things you could have two. I'm not actually hitting that. Oh, there's a little guardrail down there next to it. Okay, I was like, I'm nowhere near the concrete barricade. What are you talking about? Right, there's like a little teeny tiny guardrail right there. There we go. Question, do you need any specialization to work in IT? No. It used to be back in the day, there's a certification called the CompTIA A+ certification. That was like, it was the thing you got. I do not believe it's even remotely necessary. It's still a nice thing that if you get the CompTIA A+ certification, it's not going to hurt you. But, it'll like, it's a thing you put on your resume that's just like a I do know what I'm talking about kind of thing, but it's not important like it used to be. Like it used to be, to get a decent IT job, it was real hard without it. No, but you look things up and Google puts your head and shoulders above the rest. You need a lot of coffee to work in IT, yeah. Aren't there just more certifications now? Well, if you go into specializations, there are lots of certifications. Like there's a couple Microsoft certifications you can get if you're doing like the network side of it. There's Cisco certifications. Even Linux has certifications, though I don't believe they're particularly heavily, required. Not many places, commercial places, run Linux as a primary thing. That. Am I going the right way? I said I need to turn right. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Is there even anything down this road? Okay, that's fine. But yeah. But no, it's, it used to be you had to have tons and tons of certifications for any type of specialty thing. That, we used to refer to as the alphabet soup. Because they were all just these acronyms that no one knew what the heck they were. I mean, people knew what they were, but it's like, you had your MSDN, you had your A+, you have your Linux Plus, your Security Plus, your Network Plus. All those, other than the MSDN, were CompTIA, you had Linux, like you had Linux certifications for the different ones, like there's a Red Hat certification, all that kind of stuff. But by and large, that's just not a thing you gotta worry about anymore. So I see there's a side road that has nothing on it. So what we might do is we might have our character sleep real fast so that we don't get penalized. We're gonna do that circuit just to reveal it. That's something I haven't done that I need to do. And then we'll take a mission here. Now, Cisco's big one to get back when... Yeah, for networking, Cisco was like the cert you needed. Like the Cisco cert was the cert you needed for networking. Wasn't that the CSIP? I don't think it was CISP. Was it CSDN? Cisco Systems Developer Network or something like that? I don't remember. It's been a long time. But yeah, these days, if you have working experience, that's good enough. If you have for like your entry level position, I should say, you don't need to get a bunch of certs. They can help you land jobs, like the classic. If I have a stack of resumes and your resume has a bunch of certs and the other ones don't, that's kind of a leg up you've got on the others. But they're not strictly necessary. Not always. There's individual jobs that will say you must have this cert to work here, or you must have this clearance to work here, or whatever. But it's not like it used to be, where if you didn't have the CompTIA and you didn't know someone, it was really hard to land an IT job. But then you got your CompTIA plus certification, you landed your first job, and you got 2, 3, 4 years experience, and then the certifications came background noise outside of specialization. Where specialization being where the money is at. Like, instead of just being like an IT technician, being like a DBA or a network engineer or whatever, which is just a specialized form of IT. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to sleep in that. That's a garage. I'd have to own the garage. Oh, I'm down to buy another garage once I fill up the current one. I haven't filled up the current one. That's fine. We can go right up the road here. There's some question mark up there. And then a sleep spot. Yeah, so go over here. Like I said, we'll do that loop that goes to nowhere. It says it's Lake Tahoe, but Lake Tahoe is not a place you can actually do stuff at here, as far as I'm aware. But there's no destinations on it, so unless I go out of my way to drive past it, I will never drive past it. Okay, found our recruitment agency. Yeah, then we can circle around. That's just like Lake Tahoe in real life. I believe you. I have no idea. Alright, so get some sleep real fast. Okay, so what we're going to do, so this is what I'm talking about, is we got this over here. I'm going to set that there, and my goal is just do that loop real fast. We'll hit the gas station. That's because there is an achievement for doing enough of the map. And the way I look at it is I'm never going to get that achievement if I skip all these places. So just if I happen to be at a good place to, like, loop through and just hit an area I haven't seen yet. Just do that real quick. Because a lot of these stops you also almost never end up unless you go out of your way to go there. Like, there's not that many shipments going to and from them. Alright, while we wait in traffic, I just realized I didn't do something I need to do. Oh, there's the green light. I'm being that guy. Distracted driver. At least I'm being distracted driver while sitting still and not moving. That said, I don't do that in real life. If I'm in a car, nothing happens with the phone and all that. I turn on an audiobook, it goes in the passenger seat, and it does not get touched. That's parking. That's not people waiting to turn lane. We don't have many places in Florida that has that style of parking. It's only when you get to some like the really kind of old town or like areas that grew and there's no room for it. You run into like on the curb parking. They exist, it's just not where I'm at. Okay, I finished the thing I need to do. I'm still amused that, like, we just leave our windshield wipers on now. We're leaving Carson City. 70 on this road, you say? That seems bold. That seems too bold. Is really 70? With this visibility? I like the windshield wipers doing their part. Yep. Alright. There is a lot of semis on this road. Considering it's a road I can't take. This is what you see a lot in American Truck Simulator. If it's an area you're not able to go, you'll just see like those X's. So it's not a real road there. Hey, Simcopter, can I get a shout out for Simcopter 1, please? Welcome in. For those who don't know Simcopter, absolutely fantastic content creator on the platform. If you're looking for positive, chill vibes, you can find them there. Plays lots of simulation-style games, among other things, but simulation strategy, that's kind of the jam over there. But with all that, really, 80? I mean, sure. Lake Tahoe, this is not a road, like, it's 80, not for a semi. But, here, I can get you a shout out here in just a second. Alright. Let me go ahead and get a quick shout out down here. Shout out at Simcopter. But absolutely fantastic content creator. You should absolutely be checking them out. Plays a variety of game. We rated Simcopter last night, was playing some Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. A classic. Written in assembly, which is still to this day hurts me on the inside at the thought of trying to write out in a game that much in assembly. Because that's talking directly to the computer in its computer's own language. The only thing worse would be ones and zeros of binary. But still like an amazing game, like way ahead of its time. Also plays like American Truck Simulator as well, The Sims 4, a bunch of stuff. So if you're ever looking for any of that, you can find it there. 100% absolutely positive, excellent content creator to tune into. That tunnel is super dangerous because there's always ice under it. Oh, you mean in real life? I've never been to Lake Tahoe. It is cool that we actually do have a nice lake view here. I'm still waiting for the camera spot icon so we can do like the Golden Gate Bridge and stop on the bridge entirely, not moving, blocking traffic, so that we can get out of our truck, not really, but simulate getting out of our truck to take the photo, you know, which doesn't completely gridlock the entire bridge. Yeah, Simcopter is absolutely an excellent vibe. I need to get to our lane and I know it, and the other lane is completely backed up. I'm signaling. I'm doing my part. Red car, do you want to do this? Hey, red car, I am coming over. I'm signaling. I'm being good about it. There you go. You figured it out. Roller Coaster Tycoon is written assembly. You never knew that. Incredible achievement for that dev. They deserved all love they got for the game. Oh yeah, very famously, Roller Coaster Tycoon was written in assembly, so no modern programming languages about it. The good news is that's part of the reason they can actually handle as many like guests and all that. Because you think about when Roller Coaster Tycoon came out and what like Tycoon games were capable of in those days. Most of them they didn't even have like real guests. They would just have like a path would be made to look busy as if there were guests on it, but it was just a texture. And if they did have individual guests, it would be like your whole park would have like 30 or 40 of them, versus Roller Coaster Tycoon would allow you to have literally hundreds. And a big part of that was because they ran on assembly, there was like zero overhead to speak of. I'm also impressed that that game was not buggy and crashy as all get out being written in assembly, because you have to manage everything yourself. Like, if you're doing assembly, you are writing to the memory and reading from the memory yourself. There's no tools really doing anything special to help you there. Which, like, I've done C++, and I hate working in C++, for when you have to do your own memory management, your header files, and all that kind of stuff. Because, yes, you do gain a performance improvement for there. Not nearly as big as you used to. Like, it used to be, if you want to do serious stuff that was going to have to be performance, you did C++. Nowadays, it's a way more nuanced improvement. Just because memory management in a lot of modern languages come a long way. So, did that count both directions? It did not. Alright. So what we're going to do is I want to go ahead and never have to take this road again. Because we're just trying to make sure we reveal the map. So we're going to do a completely legal turn here. There'll be nothing illegal about this. Especially the part where I take out that sign. Oh, we're totally getting hit. Oh, no, we're fine. Because the other tunnel did not count. And I'm just doing this because I think the entire time, this is my first time, I believe, being to Carson. It's just not a place the game gives me as a destination very often. So I just want to take this side road that has nothing on it, so I will never, ever, ever be directed by the game to go here. And I just want to reveal it, be done with it, so I have that percentage of the map revealed, done, whatever you want to say, towards the achievement. And then we'll never see Lake Tahoe ever again. I just love that we turned the windshield wipers on. Not even this stream. These windshield wipers, we turned them on last stream because just someone mentioned it and it was raining. It's like, okay. And then we've just left them on ever since. Because there's no penalty, there's no consequence for it. So, you know, just windshield wipers. Windshield wipers and high beam. That's how you ride through town on a sunny day. Windshield wipers and high beams. I figured it was because you were in rain. Yeah, no, I usually actually don't bother with the windshield wipers in this game in the rain. To me, they don't do that much. But, you know, it got brought up. I was like, alright, you know, I'll find the button to turn them on. Hey, there's Lake Tahoe. There you go. Kind of hard to drive. Trying to peek over at the lake, but we're doing it. There you go, there's Lake Tahoe. Okay, moving on. As this poor red car's like, whatever you're doing, please stop it. Sir, eyes on the road. Which is totally fair. I forgot to mention earlier, I figured out how to move the corpses out of my cockpit in Starfield. Excellent. But now your ship has less character. It turns out you have to hold the button for like 3 seconds to pick them up, not 1 second with other objects. Oh, interesting. So like when you say move, Can you actually get rid of them, or is it like move like you just find some corner and just shove them in that area and never speak of them again? Like just find the bathroom downstairs and just like sit one of them just in the bathroom and close the door. I'm still salty that on stream we had where I got on the C category ship or whatever, and you know, spent the time killing like 20 something people on that ship to take it, and then realizing I couldn't fly a category C ship at the time. Because like it was really fun to fight through that big ship. It felt, you know, it felt like something you'd have in like the Star Wars universe about like the ship gets boarded and, you know, the slow work through of like fighting against all the numbers and all that. You know, versus half the time when you board the ships in the game, it's like they got that little room that usually doesn't have people in it, and then the cockpit has like 2-3 people in it. So having one you had to like fight through all of it, it was like, this is what this is meant to be. Which does make sense. Like, if you board like a little fighter that has like 2 people living in it, it's only gonna have 2 people in it. See, if I were to take the time to put a corpse in the... Throwing props up in a funny way. My luck is I'd take the time, and then, you know, the creation engine being what it is, I'd come back and immediately not be where it needed to be. Alright, so let's go ahead and get our new freight job. We're going to take something from Carson City. So, we'll probably take this one here for the 36,000. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of really good options. This one has slightly worse payout per mile than the Bakersfield one, but you know, it's more money. I still don't really understand why it's unhappy about this layout. Like our heavy cargo is really solid. Our uneven and hills seem to be decent. The normal cargo is terrible. I don't really get its complaint. You like the scanner? Let's see, show up what category ship you're looking at. It only shows the name of the ship. Yeah, so you have to like memorize, like, oh, a wick is of this category and this is of that category. Now, I think it'd be a really good option if they did make it so you could just see it. I'm looking forward to doing the New Game Plus, though. Again, absolutely no spoilers, but I will say they do a good job of making it so it's not just you finish the game, roll credits, okay, New Game Plus it. They actually have... The story has a reason there's a New Game Plus, and I will not spoil any of it. I just appreciate that in-game there's a reason why you can New Game Plus. And that'll be as much as I say about it. Please do not spoil it for anyone who does not want to spoil it for themselves. Like, if you want to look at how it works, that's what Google is for. But yeah. So I appreciate that. Like, I haven't done it yet, but they've revealed what it is to me in game. All right, let's go get our next pickup. Okay, so freight market. Yeah, so like I said, this one has a slightly worse mile payout, but I'm getting 1.5. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Like, if it was something significant, like 10, 15 bucks different per mile, then I probably would care, but less than $2 or whatever it was, eh. That's... I need to just disable that button. Again, there's a straight shot out of here over here. At first, like, man, don't try and pull that around that corner. Because then I'll certainly catch it on the corner. Are you not actually an out? You are not an out. Well, that is unfortunate. So, we'll try... and turn around over here. It is a double-hinged trailer. So that does give me a lot of ability to, like, turn it around in spot pretty easily. Alright, we're good. Like, that's kind of the pro and the con of the double-hinging trailers. Like, the double-hinge trailer, if you're trying to actually make sharp turns, it actually lets you get away with a lot. But if you have to back up anywhere, is absolutely the worst. Because, like, even if you know what you're doing, it's just so finicky. I need to get different mirrors than this. The giant mirrors, they kind of give me a blind spot for oncoming traffic at times. Which I actually have enough money, I can buy another vehicle. So what I might even do is after this delivery, try and buy myself another new vehicle. Don't you yield. You have the right of way. Thank you. But, try and buy myself a new truck, see if we can get something nicer. Because I'm only buying, like, the Mack trucks just because I don't know truck brands at all. And I've just been buying the same truck and, like, upgraded versions of it again and again, so that way I can just keep giving all my people trucks I know will work. But, like, maybe look at the other manufacturers, see if we can't get something really good. Speaking of vehicles, you're loving your shipbreaker? Oh, do you mean the shipbreaker as in the type of ship called the shipbreaker you can buy in Starfield? I assume, based on the context we've got going on here. Class B, yeah. Yeah, I didn't get that one. So for me, I got, you know, the ship you start with. Like, obviously, everyone gets that. You don't really get a choice in the matter. I went from that to a Crimson... So this is me talking about off-stream, for the record. I went that to, there was a pirate ship, the Crimson ones, the Crimson Raider, I forget the type of it was, like Reaper or something like that. That picked a fight with me, so I took their ship. And that was the category B. And then the category C I got, I'm not going to... It's one you can get from a quest, is the way I will put it. So because I'm trying to think of how I could say what it is without spoiling the quest, so I'm not going to. But it is the one you can get from the quest. And then I took that ship, and I majorly overhauled it. I have pictures of it on the Discord in its final version. That's actually one of the things I understand for a New Game Plus to be meaningful. They have to take my ship away and put me back in the starting ship or whatever ship they give you at the beginning. I don't really know how that works. But I am kind of sitting there going, oh, that is, that's gonna be pretty disappointing to give up the ship I put so much effort into customizing. But I think that's a good thing, because it gives you an opportunity to recustomize your ship. I have heard there's a bunch of differences between New Game Plus and the base one. Again, I won't spoil anything, but that some of the quests go differently in New Game Plus. I don't know what or any of the details. Can you at least save the customization as a blueprint and load it later when you're in-game to resource rebuild? I don't believe so. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of quality of life around the shipbuilder. Shipbuilder is actually one of the places that has a decent number of pain points. Where the game does a lot of things really well. The shipbuilder, while it has a lot of stuff it does well, there's definitely places there is room for improvement there. Like being able to save layouts. Some of the controls are a bit unintuitive on it. Like the up-down thing isn't particularly clearly communicated. Once you learn it, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But even with the up-down thing, it can get like weird where you go into like negative numbers of height on your ship, and then weird like you can get weird like position stuff, so you kind of almost have to like reset yourself back up to 0, you know, delete the part you're trying to put in and fix that. So there's little pain points there. You want to have the ability to start from scratch, so that's actually not that bad. You just buy or have a ship in a category and just delete all the parts. I'm just lazy. Yeah, I do agree. That's actually one of the things I'm hoping for, is you can get a shipbuilder pad for your outpost. Like, it's not a secret, it's not like an unlock or whatever. It's just on the list of things you can get. So I do wonder with that, if I have the shipbuilder thing, because it mentions buying ships. If I bought ships at my own pad in the middle of absolutely nowhere, would it just give me like the one main piece and I build up from there? Like, what parts are available? I'm curious about that, because different markets have different parts, so I have no idea how they accommodate, you know, you with your own pad in a system that doesn't have anything normally. So like, is it every part I've unlocked? Is it some subset of parts that are just considered universal parts? That I never got my outpost far enough. And now that I know I'm going to New Game Plus, I've kind of like divested from putting any more effort into my outpost in my single player one. Like, I just set up the basics. Because I'm like, okay, I already know I'm going to New Game Plus before I do anything meaningful with this outpost anyways, or I'm going to want to. And I don't think I want to drag this out so I can do the outpost. So my thought is do a New Game Plus, and as soon as I can plunk down an outpost, right from the very beginning, set up an outpost and like actually put a lot of time into it. Versus both on stream and off stream, I kind of let the outpost stuff alone for a long time. Have you built many outposts? I have built 2. I have heard that people are taking the time to like figure out where they can put outposts, that they can get like 4 different resources they can mine, that kind of thing. I haven't spoiled myself or looked into where I can do that. You were neglecting research for way too long. So my whole thing is I can't research much of anything on my character, because all of my point investments were primarily in ship combat and like carrying stuff, and then some other stuff like being able to unlock things. That's where I've been putting so much of my investment in my character. So like, so much of the research stuff, like for the suits and the weapons, I don't have access to. Same with the outpost. There's a bunch of research there I can't do. Hey look, it's Yosemite National Park is over there to the right. Smoking the Bandit. Where's your blocker? Eastbound and down. I will say, Carson is definitely way out here in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, once we get around to 9 o'clock, we'll switch up the game. I just figured we'd do American Truck Simulator to start. We've been starting with RimWorld a lot lately. The run with the Mechanator is still going. We're still going to revisit that, like keep going with that run. I'm just getting a bit self-conscious that, you know, RimWorld doesn't have the greatest numbers. It's fine, like it does okay. But I stopped and thought, for people who only catch the beginning of the stream, that I have been doing RimWorld at the beginning of the stream for almost 4 weeks straight. Like, it's basically since I've been got back from New Zealand. It's been almost every day. And it's like, alright, that's probably not a good thing for the channel and everything to be that, just like in with that one game. Because, you know, there's going to be people that RimWorld's just not their jam. And I am a variety streamer. So I don't want to chase off the people who are looking for, you know, a bit of this and that for different games, and attracting people who just only want one game. Yeah, Grit's saying I love your mix-up. Yeah, that's the whole thing. This is a variety channel. I want to make sure to try and keep the interest in variety, and not push away my variety audience in favor of an audience attached to just one game in general, like regardless of what the game is. Let alone a game who right now the the viewership's okay. It's not terrible. It's okay. It's the same reason why I, you know, switched things up with Project Zomboid as well. Because it was kind of running the same thing as I found myself, you know, a little over half the time playing Project Zomboid. And that was kind of going against the variety aspect of the stream because it was attracting more and more of an audience who only wanted Project Zomboid, which I definitely got a lot of people through Project Zomboid who were into variety as well, or who just like the vibe that even if they're not into the game, they just want to hang out for the vibe, which, again, super appreciate it, means a whole heck of a lot. But yeah. Still debating what we're doing the second half. I'll probably put it up for a poll. We did start the update for Coral Island, the Merfolk update. At this point, all of the festivals up through fall and the Merfolk are available. There's also, out of the 10 hearts for romancing people, you can get up to 8. So you're just shy of being able to like marry and have kids and all that. Because it is an early access game. My plan is to not just go hard on it for like a week or two or whatever, and then burn through all the content. I'm actually debating trying to take it at a slower pace, like 2-3 days a week for a while, you know, a couple of months or whatever, or not 2-3 days, like 1 or 2 days a week for a couple of months, like 2-3 months, like have a half a stream that's Coral Island, because I think if I play through it where I take it at that kind of a pace, what'll end up happening is by the time we get to the second winter, the winter update should be there, which means we'll have all of the holidays that we'll be able to do in there. And then the only update we'll be missing is the end game, the marriage update, and the what was it? There was one more. There was like an end game, like there's like end game, marriage, and the 1.0 release. Let's see, does anyone know if it's possible to get a liquid crystal displays as mirrors in American Truck Simulator? It's a thing in Euro Truck Simulator and Newer Trucks. Maybe. I haven't looked. Honestly, a lot of the cosmetic stuff I end up not messing much with on the truck. Like, I put a paint job on it so they're not just generic. But I haven't been doing a whole lot to customize my trucks. And a big part of that is I know I'm going to upgrade and just replace this truck anyways. So I'm not super invested in, like, making it kind of, you know, quote-unquote my truck, since it's just a temporary stay. And it's something I do in a lot of games, like with Starfield, my Class A shape, or my Class A ship, I would put, like, you know, the weapons I want, like the stuff I had utility/functional purposes I needed. But, like, really going out of my way to, like, really dress it up, I didn't do much. Like, I gave it, like, kind of a bit of a design, so it wasn't just generic. But that was about it. Versus, I probably spent 2-ish hours on my Class C, since it's like, this is the last ship I'm gonna get. Because, like, it's the biggest, I can make it do everything I need. So I burned a good 2+ hours, you know, deleting everything that was on the ship, and slowly designing it out and building it all out, kind of thing. Which, the thing that I like is, like, both the exterior and... Oh, cam died? Yeah, it's at least a good spot for the cam to be died. Alright, let's go ahead and fix the camera real fast. I'm also gonna do this real fast. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm honestly looking to be like, okay, what is the next achievement I would potentially pursue? Just on random? Yeah. I think it's an OBS thing, but yeah. In progress. Okay, so that one's a DLC one. Buy and apply a custom paint job. I did that. Perform deliveries for 15 different companies. Yes, I have just a whole bunch of ones that are deliveries. So I have enough achievements that I don't need to be focused on any individual, like, oh, I need to do this challenge or that challenge. So it's just like, yeah. And that's the reason why I haven't been doing any, like, the really big challenge stuff so far as, like, doing the deliveries with no damage. I figure that's going to just happen. Like, I'll have a delivery that goes smoothly, and I'll just get that achievement for it. There's probably achievement for doing something, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the challenges are. We haven't looked. You do plan to build a silly ship, but takes more money. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The C category ships when you go build them out. I found money wasn't really that big of a problem in Starfield. I think when I New Game Plus it, I'm be a lot pickier about what I pick up. Because when I first started playing, anything that looked like it was worth more than like 100 or 200 I was picking up, which means I was instantly overburdened. I hadn't adjusted my understanding of the credits that, yeah, actually 200-300 is like $5. It's not a meaningful amount of money in this game. It's when you're up to the thousands that you're like, okay, that's worth picking up. That I found, generally speaking, I never had real big money problems. Like, yeah, sometimes I couldn't afford the upgrade I wanted right now, but it usually didn't take long to get that money. That you just pick up weapons that get dropped, you do missions, and you get money pretty quick. I have no idea what the payout on the survey and all that. Like, I'm thinking my next playthrough, instead of focusing so much on the combat side of things, I might sit there and do like a lot more of just like the explorer outpost kind of thing and see how that goes. My only worry with the exploration thing is with the exploration side of the game, there's no vehicles for on the planets, and sometimes you get the landmarks that are out like 2,000 meters or whatever, and it's not the worst thing in the world, but you do find that you're like jump, like you use your jetpack, like try and go until you have to land on the ground and keep doing that, and it's definitely not efficient enough to feel good, at least not to me. And it might be that if I get the jetpack upgrades, maybe I'll change my mind. That's actually very likely true. But without all the jetpack upgrades, I have like just one level of them. It's you sometimes have where you're trying to cross, especially if you're overburned. That's like, it feels like it takes an eternity to walk back to your ship. I mean, if you're not overburned, you just fast travel and don't worry about it. Who knows? Like I said, I'll probably change my mind. You can't stop getting distracted visiting random locations a long way. Yep. Oh yeah, that's the thing. I was looking at it going, okay, what do I want to do before a New Game Plus? I'm like, is there any of these quest lines that I want to finish? And so I did decide one of my companions, I'm gonna do their quest line because I'm pretty far along, and it was the character I was romancing on this one. So like, you know what? Let's see the romancing thing through. Because I've already put the time in. Because that means in my New Game Plus, I can just romance someone else. Yeah, low gravity, the jetpack is fine. You can go ridiculous distance with it, it feels fine. But like, normal/high gravity, where it's not that helpful, it's just really annoying if you're overburned. And it's really, really hard to not loot Goblin. It is exceptionally hard to not loot Goblin in Starfield. There are consumables. That's the other thing, is I almost use only the consumables that give me life. I have not been taking the consumables that give you like melee damage or movement speed or protection, and I should, because they're really powerful. But I always have like, I just need like 20 more credits. All right, well, I'll just sell all these boosts. I can buy that thing I want. I still remember finding that legendary, like, weird laser gun thing and be like, this is amazing. And this is on the stream characters, like, this is amazing. We need to get the ammo for this because this gun is ridiculous. And then going, I'll buy a stack of the ammo, and it was 27,000 credits, and going, oh my god, hang on a second. Look, I don't have that kind of money. Because you remember Skyrim finishing with unlimited potions? Yeah, so I'm not going to say the part I was going to say because spoilers. I actually end up having a deficiency in med packs with some of the stuff I'm doing. Because I'm playing as a bully in how I fight in the combat, like being a very aggressive player. And I have put no points in anything combat oriented on the ground. So we hit those med packs pretty hard at times. But to my credit, I also go through the enemy forces very quickly. But there's definitely been times where I realize I'm in a quest that things are gonna pick up and there's gonna be a lot of fighting, and I'm looking at my like 4 med packs going, alright, I might be in trouble. Have I done the thing where I'm gonna have to load like a backup of my save because I've put myself in a situation this is not doable. I haven't run into where that's actually been the case. I have found the areas where they have lots of fighting. If you look around, they're pretty generous in hiding med packs here and there, or giving you alternate ways to engage the enemies where you don't put yourself in the line of fire. But there's definitely times where like, all right, I have to be real careful for a little bit. I don't have the supplies I need to do this the way I've been doing this. Okay, and we're getting there. So, debating what I want to do here. So, the things I'm debating right now is, for one, after we finish this delivery, even though it'd be very early for us to switch games, switching games potentially. Just, you know, by at night and all that. Or two, like, and then, I mean, I shouldn't be too. Like, switching game, like, the second option would be we probably do one more delivery, because that also, you know, put us roughly at the time we'd switch anyways after this delivery. Then the second kind of one thing I have to deal with is, okay, when we switch games, like, what am I doing? Most likely I'm putting it up for a poll and just leaving it at that, because that makes it easiest for me. And it also kind of rewards, you know, people viewing with the ability to say what they want to see next. Because I like being able to use people's feedback and all that. You're pro Switch, but also not strongly against Truck Sim. Yeah, no, I do keep my numbers up and all that to kind of keep a feel on things. Mostly to go, is this game jiving with my community? And if not, like, I won't switch aggressively like, oh, like we didn't get instant numbers, you know, get rid of the game kind of thing. Especially if it's a game like I'm super into. But it is a thing that if it's like, alright, like, generally speaking, we're not getting the numbers we normally do. And while I enjoy the game, like, it's not one of those games where, like, I want to play this right now. Like, very genuinely, the only reason we started with this today was I couldn't think of what I wanted to play, and I have that tool I said I can't trust that I made myself. And I was like, alright, it suggested American Truck Simulator? Sure, good enough for me. Like, there's... Because otherwise I would have struggled to decide what we're doing and been, like, 10 minutes late to start stream because I'd be going back and forth going, well, do I play this? Do I play that? So, what I'll probably do... Below 69 viewers, uninstall. Yeah. Oh, it's really hard to not get yourself in that headspace, too. And like, the number of viewers is the thing that moves around. It's like a moving target in your head. It's like, okay, what is good and bad? And there's so many variables outside your stream that play into thing that you will not only not be able to account for, but even then you can never even go back and properly see, like, you know, you get a bunch of your viewers are from country, whatever, and they're having a holiday, and so everyone's out and about. There's some other, like, big event, like some show is premiering. That's, you know, it only takes a small percentage of your viewers to not be there for it to be a noticeable difference in your viewership. And it can be completely unrelated to the game you're playing, what's going on your end, like completely falls 100% out of streamer life. And you just see the numbers go down, your brain's like, oh god, what are you doing wrong? Have you properly killed your stream? Like what is happening right now? And just the same, you can have the reverse where like a bunch of the people you share communities with are like all out of town, they're all doing stuff. So like there's just an unusually low number of people streaming that evening compared to like people looking for streams. So you just have like weirdly a high number of viewers that time. Or it could just be like you got a big raid or whatever. They're like, man, people are loving this game. and none of those are necessarily connected to that. But it is a thing that you kind of get a pulse that's like, okay, chat's a bit quieter tonight. They don't seem to be as into it. Maybe it's time to kind of put this aside. Yeah, weekends can be very hit and miss. Absolutely. Like Friday and Saturday nights are usually the slowest time viewership wise. And that's because like if people are gonna go out camping or doing stuff with family or hanging out with friends, or they have some trip they're going on, like almost always it'll be like Friday night that they head out for those things. And it's like, so yeah, so like Friday and Saturday are usually the slowest days for most streamers, especially in the evenings. There are exceptions to that. Whereas weekdays, for the most part, do pretty well. Monday can be very hit and miss here. Sundays can be very hit and miss here. Fridays and Saturdays are usually, outside of days where we get generous raids, my slower days. Like Wednesdays tend to be kind of one of my best days. I don't like when they make me stop. It takes so much to get back going again. But yeah. And there can just be off days that, like, you know, people aren't feeling... Like, the thing with, like, RimWorld, like, me using the numbers with that, like, one thing I have to go is, like, RimWorld's numbers on this channel have been actually down outside. We had a really good raid the other day. Has been a little bit on the downside, but a big part of that might just be the Mechanator run specifically, because it is a much slower run. But you know, people asked for it. I don't want to just, like, go, no, torpedo it. You know, it's just one of those things like, alright, well, we'll do the run. When it's done, we'll put it away. But it probably won't do a Mechanator run. I think in general... No, that's Shooting Star. I didn't know we had those in the game. I think in the future, when it comes to RimWorld specifically, because of how slow some of those solo pawn runs go, that I've noticed I end up having lower viewership on those runs, I might stop doing anything that is a single pawn kind of start. So like no Naked Brutality, anything, no solo Mechanator. The things that really heavily constrain the pawns you start out with and, like, who you can recruit, those ones I might shy away from. Because those slow burn kind of runs I found fairly consistently don't get the same viewership. Like, once they pick up, sometimes the viewership gets better if it's a run that they can pick up. But, like, Tribal Start seems to always do better. Crash Landed's fine. Even the Tribal View, like, Tribal Starts where I still have constraints in how many pawns seem to be doing good. It's just when you have 1, 2, or 3 pawns. And I think it does boil down to, it just goes slow. Like, it's a slow start kind of thing. Which I feel like the people who get into it get more invested in those runs, so they'll see it through kind of more. But, you know, if you have a handful of invested people, so you have a very low viewership one, that's not particularly great for the channel. Which I do know there's lots of people who are, like, super into the long runs, and I get that. I enjoy doing those. It's like Arco Nexus is one that I know people really liked when I did Arco Nexus. So I do think I might do the Arco Nexus run, like some variation of Arco Nexus, the next time I do a run on RimWorld, because it's also when you don't see people run very often, because it does take a long time, but it's at least a long time with things happening. Now, I did think about, there's the recommendation. You think it's a football night too? That might be affecting viewership. Is it a football night? I don't pay attention to, you know, sports in general. I also have no idea what overlap I have with my audience and people who watch football. I assume it's not 0, but, you know, I don't know if it's a significant or like a smaller percent. I also don't know who's playing, because that can really matter a lot. Like, NFL's playing? Gotcha. I don't know, but some of my Discord friends are mentioning it. Gotcha. Maybe. Like I said, I have no idea. You can like actually be really surprised with where you'll find overlap in your audiences and like who's into what. Like there's definitely been more than once that I was like, oh, I'll play this game on my channel. I don't expect it to go well. Like it kind of falls outside the range of what I normally do. And then you realize there's a large number of your audience are like, oh yeah, we actually enjoy that game. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Basically pro-American football. Right, no, I got you. I'm aware of what the NFL is. The thing I don't know is, like, are there big teams playing, or is it just kind of just... I don't know. I mean, if it's a big game night, that would fit perfectly in the things as a content creator you could be blissfully unaware are happening that can definitely impact your viewership. Opening weekend for the season? Yeah. I could see that being a big draw. That would make sense. Oh my god, please. Same for a non-American chat? Yeah. Well, don't get behind me when you see I'm stuck. Don't box me in, car. Thank you. That's the worst one, is when you're like stuck on something like that and one of the cars pulls up real close. You're like, well, now I can't go. Have you pondered what game is going to be replacing RimWorld with? That's been the struggle. And I mentioned at the beginning of stream that I have a poll going on the Discord that I use to try and inform, like, for the medium long-term time games that are going to be played for at least like 4+ streams. Not something I'm going to play and then be like, cool, we did it. Why is my trailer getting damaged now? Didn't catch anything as far as I could tell. That's usually where I fish for that information. And like it's not gotten good participation lately. That there's only been like 8 or so people voting. It could be the games I'm putting on there don't, like, maybe the people aren't really that interested in those games. Oh yeah, the problem is City Skylines 2 is not out yet. It doesn't come out to the 28th of next month. And I don't have a key for it. There has been a few people, like Let's Game It Out, got a very, very, very early build so they could make a video. But my understanding with that was a very short number of people who were given keys for that very, very early build. And my understanding is none of them were streamers. They were all recorded content. I could be wrong about that. Because I think part of the stipulation is, like, you have to tell them it's an early build. You have to make it very clear it's an early build. Because, like, in his video, he went to places like, yeah, these bushes that look terrible, I have been specifically informed these bushes will look better on release. Because for the time to have him to edit that video up and do all of that stuff, he's probably had access to a build for a good couple of days to a week, if not longer. So, yeah. I mean, which, for the record, the game looks great, even though there was definitely some weird stuff that was happening, like cars following a road that wasn't there, kind of things. But that's not unusual for a game that's going to be a month and a half out still. And then, you know, that's probably a build that was, you know, a month or two old when they got it. But yeah, no, absolutely. Even if I had to buy City Skylines 2, I'll end up playing it on the channel. That falls in the categories of games I really want to play. So it's gonna happen. Yeah, Let's Game It Out putting thousands of hours into a game just to make video. That's I think that's a big part of why his content works so well, is he is one of the few people doing that style of content. Because so much of what Let's Game It Out does is it'll be like, okay, you know, here's this gag I want to do. How long is it going to set me, you know, for me to set it up? Oh, like 200-300 hours. And he'll take the time to do it. But ends up being, like, really solid content because of it. It's just, you know, I can't imagine for him the stress he must feel when he's releasing a video, not sure if it'll do well or not. Because, like, you know, when you're making a video, like any video will take you to like 100-200 hours to make a properly edited video, between like the gameplay, the editing it down, the getting the audio sorted out, all those minutia, putting it out there, doing your, like, your, you know, reach out and social, like, market it kind of things. Like, to try and get one that's going to be out there when you're doing that recorded content is your main thing. And so you burn hundreds of hours per video kind of thing, at least. And then it can be, you know, a lame duck where you release it and it just does not get traction. And you're just like, okay, you know, I made $5 kind of thing on this thing I put hundreds of hours into. That's, you know, that's terrible. And then you sit there and go, okay, well, you have this art video and you put that in there and it just absolutely resonates. You make hundreds and hundreds of dollars on it. I don't really want to stop for a rest stop. I know I'm in that range. I should, but I'm also in that range. I could probably get away with it. Maybe I get one fine. So I think we're pushing through. Watch, and then this will be the time it's like, up. You know, you have a, you have a detour, 100 miles. But yeah, I can't imagine the stress of that. Like, for streaming, if I stream a game and it's just not resonating, I just switch games. And, you know, it's like, okay, you know, yesterday was an off stream. My loss was that day. How does a duck get lame? I thought it was only cows and horses. I mean, you can have a duck with no leg. I actually don't know where that phrase, like, you can be a lame duck comes from. I'm sure it's political. As in not, like racism political or something like that. I'm sure, like, it sounds like the kind of phrase that comes out of, oh, under these circumstances, when you go to pass this law in this situation, and you use this strategy, it's the lame duck strategy or something like that. Like, it sounds like a process thing. Did you Baldur's Gate 3 yet? I'd be so happy for smaller streamers to watch playing it. I played it a bit off stream, and I enjoy the game. I think it is an excellent game. I haven't gotten that far into it, and the reason is I play a little bit, and then I have to work on stuff, and then I come back and go, what the heck was I doing? And then I start over, and then, you know, the cycle continues. So I enjoy it, but the circumstances I'm playing is making it difficult for me to play it. Is the way I will state that. Like, it is a great game. I kind of regret buying it just because I haven't had the time to actually play it. Let's see, beaten Act 1 twice, Act 2 nearly twice, and almost done with Act 3. Love the game. I plan a few different playthroughs. Yeah. And none of that has to do with, like, the content creation side of it. I've been playing it after stream because, like, for me, I looked at Baldur's Gate 3 and it's like, it's not well aligned with a lot of the stuff I do on the channel, so I'm not sure how it would do on the channel. And then the extra step on that is just the sheer number of people playing. It's been hard for me to go, okay, is this what I want to play on the channel? Because I figured as well as games I could play on the channel, but strategically probably doesn't make sense. Maybe it could make sense now. Do you play it as a pure RPG where you truly roleplay the character? I think it works. Oh yeah, no, it's totally a streamable game. Like that is absolutely a thing. It is a 100% streamable game. It's just I have not played very many turn-based RPGs on the channel. Yeah, there's our first fine for not getting her sleep. It's fine. I figured most likely when I push this, like, I was almost certainly going to get at least one fine, maybe two. Because there's our destination right up the road. That's the only reason I was pushing it. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. It's a game I could potentially see resonating well with the channel. It's also a game I could see people really not being into. At the very beginning, I definitely wasn't playing it for concerns of people not watching out of fear of spoilers. Because by the very nature of the game there's no way to play it spoiler-free as far as people watching not being spoiled. Like, 100% start to finish, the game is going to spoil you if you're watching it. See, how do the 5-0 know that we're all sleepy? Why can I not move? There we go. Latinx says, I could see it being streamed once or twice per week, but I think you prefer playing a game every day. What's a long-lasting series? I'm trying to not do that. So I think the happiest I've been as far as me presenting stream content was when we had 2 to 3 like mid to long form games going, where I'd play like the first half would be one game, the second half would be a different game, and then the start of the next stream would be a third game, and then, you know, one of the other 2 games, and kind of like rotating them out. And occasionally we just have like a one-off in there, where it wasn't like each day you wouldn't end up with the same games. Did anyone else get a spinny wheel? Not seeing that on my other computer. There's a second sleeping violation. But yeah, so far as the sleeping violation, in that particular case, was the cop on the other side of the road. That the assumption is they run your plates or whatever, and they're like, oh, clearly this person has slept too long. Like, granted, like, real life, that wouldn't get you ticketed. Stream's fine on your end? Gotcha. Yeah, no, my mod computer also looks fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna fight it. Okay. Yeah, so it was a high value cargo and a long distance one, so we got an extra almost 9,000 bucks. So that's how much your leveling actually plays into your money. Because you think about this, I got an extra like 9,000 bucks on that, and then on top of that for my level, we got another 5,000, which I didn't realize your level, you literally just get an extra payout. That's interesting. So our base pay was 22,000 some change, and where we got the 37,000, all of the difference, that like 15,000 difference you're seeing there, was all just because levels. So we didn't quite double our pay because of levels. All right, now before we go into a whole bunch of our stuff, because I want to make sure I remember this, let's look at our garage manager real fast. Yeah, so I've got one driver in this garage here. Oh, can I upgrade this garage easily? We won't worry about upgrading right now. So what we can do is, we've got a bunch of money. We can get ourselves a new truck. So you go to the dealer. So I have been getting like nothing but the Mack trucks from Sacramento. I didn't look at even what we could do with our trucks. I'm gonna sit there and do this again. We'll fill this garage up. Yeah, because at 25 I get a new model of truck. I think they're all Mack Anthems. Yeah, it's literally just all Mack Anthems. So what I've been doing is going to my fleet configurations, going to my most expensive one that we've got all set up. I don't believe we unlocked literally anything new, because that's the only upgrade we have left, is this $25 one here. We can go to our engine. We got the highest horsepower engine we're using. I have been using the Eaton alternate, say, this shifting one here. The one I was using before that was yeah, it's an 18-speed transmission. So it kind of gives me the best stats I've seen, because like these ones down here, they give me slightly better in normal at the cost of everything else. Yeah, and then all the rest is cosmetic. So we're literally just taking this exact same model again. Yeah, because I got the 70... Wait. Yeah, this is the one. So yeah, we'll just purchase that. We'll put in our Tucson garage. That slot, okay. Cool. Exit that. Go to recruitment agency. I don't care where they come from. We will simply take like the cheapest person we've got here. You asked the least amount of money, Bronco. Congratulations, you're hired. So go here and put down that truck, and we now have a new employee with a new truck. Almost, you know. Oh, the sleeper art is fire. Yeah, no, I liked the model we have of that. All right, yeah. So we almost can buy another truck with another person. I do dislike that they have the events here that they're advertising, which is cool, but it's for DLC, so I have this stuck on the top of the screen, and it's a thing I can't do unless I buy more stuff. So with all of that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to stop the recording for the YouTube side. So for those who are going to see this recording later on YouTube, bye. And